Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today is not only a special day because it is episode 163 of the Welcome to Asgard PG podcast, but also because it is the Chosen of Valhalla stream that we host once a month on the channel. This time for the month of June. We've got 32 people already watching, 24 likes already, so thank you for that tremendous support. If you want and could, smash the like button and share this video out if you want. We'll be having some fun discussions. We got some projects that some of the members, some of the Chosen have been working on that they're going to want to talk about. We, of course, have been watching various things. Especially Tina and I know for sure, have been watching a plethora of films as of recently to talk about, and also just anything pretty much goes with my Chosen, as long, of course, as it is PG, family-friendly, parental guidance friendly.
I wonder who you keep saying that for.
I wonder who. And since she's on the screen right now, let's go ahead and start with my sister of the PG era of YouTube. Rosetta Allen. Rosetta, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad today. Still tired, but yeah.
So, honest question, how much sleep did you get last night?
Way more than I usually do.
Well, that's good. That's a wonderful thing. And by that, I mean sleep. Because I need more of it, too. By the way, if I seem loopy today, it's because I am. Because Odin loves to put too many things on his plate, and then his mind just goes, woo!
Yeah, and knock that off.
I can't help it. I have ADD, and I'm trying medication, and
Didn't I
it
start
is
this freaking Valhalla with you last June? Is this like my 13th now, for freak's sake?
It could be. I think they keep track of that stuff on the actual Patreon page.
Because I started your Valhalla stuff when I was only a few weeks into knowing the community.
I know. You were a very early beginner, especially.
Yeah, so it's like, because I'm just over a year in the community now, and
yeah, it's crazy too because I was saying this on last night's stream. It's been 2 years since my first stream. My first stream was 2 years ago on like a week ago. It was the 2-year anniversary officially, and so I was thinking of that. And I'm like, so I've known Steph, my Valkyrie, my general, for 2 years now. Because she became a Valkyrie very quickly after that. We started talking very quickly after that. Tina I think Tina came around sometime in the fall, maybe, or late summer. And so I've known...
it was like early summer when I found your channel.
Yeah. And so I've known my Valkyrie for 2 years, and it's just an amazing thing. So obviously, Rosetta, thank you for continuing, again, for your 13th month, the lucky number 13, for being a member on the channel and for always being here for these streams. It's always a lot of fun. And we, of course, will talk and we'll prep. No. Why am I saying prep? Words. We are going to go ahead and support, and I'm looking for the word here. Promote, I think, could be a word. It's not the word I was thinking of, but we're going to go ahead and promote the projects that you have been working on, one of which you're working on during the stream. So thank you so much for being here, Rosetta. All right, and once again, the other person that I would like to shout out, since I have a couple people that are trying to figure things out because of locations and noises in the background, and so they were very generous enough to be like, hey, just so you know, if I'm not available, this is the reason why. So we'll go ahead to the other person who's always here. She's always present, even if she doesn't always watch the movies at 9 o'clock in the morning, even if she doesn't always have her cup of coffee or is working on her cup of coffee, she still is in the chat. She is still doing amazing work, keeping everybody in check, dealing with crazy people who like to say the same thing over and over and over again, even though the response is always the same. She is the wonderful, she is the beautiful, she is the... I always say that Steph's my general, so I guess I'll call you what? My lieutenant? What's another awesome title given? But my lieutenant of the Valkyries, Tina. Tina, how are you doing, Tina?
I'm doing well. I may start muting a bit because the pollen's kind of up, so my allergies are kicking in.
But
I hate that. But
it's going to be one of those days. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I'm doing well. I had everybody in the chat last night. I pulled my arm opening the screw top on my bottle of wine.
What, you broke your arm?
I know. I twisted it. It was
oh my goodness.
This is what happens. The youngins in the chat, it's like, this is what happens when you get older. You used to be able to fall and you could just bounce back up and say, hey, I'm fine. And now it's like, yeah, you're opening a bottle of wine and you're like, what happened to my arm?
Oh no.
So I took some Advil last night and put one of those thermowraps on my shoulder. And so when I woke up this morning, it's kind of stiff, but oh my God.
Feels better?
Yes.
Good.
At least I'm not like, every time I
my goodness.
move my arm. So.
Yeah, that would, I would say that would not be good at all. And here's the real question though, was the wine, was it the nice vintage that was worth the pain?
It was just the Yellowtail Pinot Noir that I was just like, it's a reasonably priced, decent brand.
Which means, yes, it was. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I prefer this Malbec that I just found not long ago. Mm-hmm. You don't see Malbecs that often in our area, so I've started getting it. But now I'm having pizza delivered later, so...
You know what? Pizza always has a home on this channel, and it's always pizza time.
Yes. And CAF was asking, how much had I been drinking? I wasn't drinking at all, CAF. I was opening it. I hadn't had anything yet.
Let's say she had to go through the pain to get the sweetness of the beverage itself. But again, as it says, it sounds like it's worth it. And you know what that always reminds me of? You say Pinot Noir. I don't know if there's anyone out there that's a fan of Kimmy Schmidt. It started off where it was actually a pretty fun show. And then it kind of got a little bit too just, a little wonky. And I wasn't a big fan of it, for the later seasons. But there's an amazing song done by the character of Titus called Pinot Noir. And every time I hear Pinot Noir, all I can think of is Pinot Noir. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's hilarious. But Tina, thank you for being here and for joining us, even though you're going through this time of pain and strife. I have to ask, though, what is your beverage of choice for this stream?
Oh, I have some mojitos in a pitcher in the refrigerator, so I'll get up in a little bit and bring some through, and I'll share it with the chat.
Boom. So. There you go. See, Tina's always prepared, and it's great. And actually, because of this discussion, I just know now we have a name for the channel that you need to actually establish. We can call it Film and a Glass of Wine
with Tina. Oh my God.
And I'm sure some people in the chat could probably take that combination and make it an even better title, but boom, you'll have a title for your channel and everything will be taken care of. And all you'll need to do is just start to upload the videos.
Yeah, I may not even make it through the videos. I may just halfway through just like, this movie sucks. Let me tell you what bottle of wine I'm drinking this morning.
So what you're telling me is your first review is going to be for Parasite, and halfway through the video... Halfway through, it's Tina who's had a little too much mojito, and she's just like, you know what I really think about it?
I'm gonna be like that crazy guy. I can't remember his name that was going off about Parasite, and it was like, well, I didn't like it either, but good grief, I didn't get on YouTube and make a video screaming at everybody about what I thought. But anyway.
But hey, you know what? One can dream.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
So thank you once again for being here. And since I see the mutes have been lifted, let's go ahead and go to someone whose name is always changing, but no matter how often it changes, she is always the modern major general of the channel. And she is, of course, waiting for Nerdrotic, or as we like to call her, Laura. Laura, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Good
Hi,
to be
Laura.
here. I'm not really settled. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
As per normal, it's trying to juggle where the least noisy area of the house is right now.
Is it a lot of traffic in the house today like it has been in the past?
Yes. I'm in the backyard, and the neighbors are rocking out the Casey and the Sunshine Band. So.
Oh, well, hey.
Which is taking me way back, let me tell you.
But you know what, though? You know what? That's you're on a stream with some friends talking. You get to enjoy some music in the background, too. That sounds like a pretty good day.
I'm digging it. Digging it. And busting out the, like all white girls, I'm busting out the White Claw mango flavor.
Oh.
So this might get interesting.
Oh. Well, there we go.
Number 2.
Oh, man. So really, it's a race between Laura and Tina is what it's really.
It's a race.
But here's the thing about the race is that it doesn't matter who wins because everyone wins in that situation.
Yes.
Well, Laura, thank you once again for being here. And obviously, with all the craziness going on in California right now, I'm hoping at the very least, having lived there just for, about 9 months or so, at least in the LA area, I know that you're, a different part of it, but I'm hoping the weather at the very least is beautiful right now.
Well, this is true. We've always got that going for it.
Yeah.
The wildfires and the everything.
Everything.
Don't expect coherence from me today. So, with everything going on, at least you can always go outside and enjoy the nice, non-humid weather.
Boom.
So we do have that going.
There you go. So you can listen to Casey and the Sunshine Band while getting some sunshine, getting a nice tan, enjoying what'd you say, White Claw?
White Claw.
All right. What is a White Claw? For someone like me who is a complete, ignoramus when it comes to alcoholic beverages, what is a White Claw?
It's carbonated, and it's fruity, and it's very light. You know that whole thing with the beer is you get the beer buzz going. Like it's like 5% alcohol. So you never really get overly drunk. You just it's just a nice, relaxing, fruity, carbonated beverage. So.
Okay. If I was ever going to drink, it would be the fruity stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I could make so many jokes at your expense on that one. Holy crap.
Trust me, I was thinking the same thing, saying I know what that sounds like. But that's okay, because you know what?
And I'm here, and you know what I'm like with any.
Because you know what? You know what my drink of choice is, Rosetta? Her name is Shirley Temple.
She's good.
She's delightful. She's delicious. And one could say she's a little fruity. And guess what? Don't we all have a little fruitiness inside of us? I think we do.
No, I'm pure angel.
Well, anyway, so Laura, thank you once again for joining us, and I'm glad that they got the beautiful weather going on, the music, the concert essentially going on in the backyard. It should be a fun time, and of course, I always love whenever the dogs come into the picture because you know me, I'm a sucker for dogs, and so for me, it's like great, let them bark. I love dogs, and so I'm like, yes, the puppies, show me the puppies.
We haven't done any fostering in a while. It's been so crazy. I miss the little. I mean, they're annoying, at some point. They're pooping everywhere. But I do miss the fostering.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. And I've mentioned it on the show before, I think, because I think we've brought up the fostering. My wife would never allow me to foster because we would never let them go. I would be like, no, I love this creature now and they are staying. And then eventually, 2 weeks later, I have Noah's Ark running in my house and, that's a problem when you're trying to start to save some money for a child and all that other stuff.
But that's how you go from 2 dogs to 4.
Exactly.
I don't want to say it.
Exactly. It's 2 by 2 is what it is. It's very biblical. You start with 2 and then 4 and then, just keep on, is it adding 2, doubling? Who knows? For me, it'd probably be doubling. Hey, honey, we have 4. Can we get 8 next? Thank you.
Well, it's like you have to have an even number because it's like the 2 big dogs have each other, and we got a little dog, and it was like, well, the little dog needs a friend. So.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. My parents felt the same way too. We always had 2, and whenever one would pass away, we would, obviously have like that period of mourning before we would get another one. But we always made sure to have 2 because of that very reason. Because also it means that they have that kinship that forms. It means that also they have company when you're not around. And it's great to see it's great to see them bond dogs
With
bonding
any
is
pet.
great.
With any pet, you
Mhm.
don't. If you're not somebody that's in the house constantly every minute,
Mhm.
you want them to have another animal in the house with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just not as well. That's
Wha-
part of why I got Athena, is because I know how old Jazzy is, and Ornery does not handle alone well.
Okay, because I was gonna say I think the one exception to that, in some cases, not all. I'm not a cat expert, but I feel like a cat, like certain breeds of
Most don't like
cats.
being alone still.
Really? Okay.
They want at least a best friend or a mate.
Okay.
They don't like being
That's
completely
also
alone.
okay. I guess here's the distinction. That's also a cat. Because they could live without, like, there's some cats where it's like they just disappear and they're like, "Oh, are you ready to feed me now? Feed me. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to go off on my own and pretend like you don't exist." So that makes sense, that having two cats. But anyway, enough of the pet talk. I mean, I could talk about pets and animals all day. But the last person that we need to introduce until, obviously, there's I think just one person who we're still waiting on. Randy, Darkstar 57, might be showing up today. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But we have once again joining us someone that has become a tech guru for me and has had a lot of great back and forth with me. And also, I really do have to thank, because he sent me a package that's getting here on Monday that's going to allow me to actually digitize some of the 4K titles that I own. So seriously, give a huge shout out today to my boy, Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I can hear you. And what I love about Mr. Roy, too, is that he's often a man of a few words, but when he speaks, you listen, because it's always something. So how you doing, man? What's been going on with you?
Not much. I mean, I'm currently just waiting on work to come back up in August. So between my parents and my brothers, they've been like, "Hey, can you come fix this? Can you move this around? Can you do this? Can you do that?" That's what I'm doing right now, is helping them out with some stuff here at the house.
Don't you always love when that happens? When, people, your friends and family, they know you have nothing going on, and they know that you're handy, and so all of a sudden it becomes, "Hey, you've got time. Why don't you come on over?"
Yeah, I mean, they know I'm tech savvy too, so they're like, "Hey, can you move this router and Wi-Fi to a different spot in the house?" And like, okay, so I'm having to pull cables and reroute and recrimp freaking cable lines, and it's a mess because all there's
There's
especially
a
when
really
it's
good word for that situation. No.
Yeah, but at the same time, especially when it's friends and family. By the way, I do have Laura's screen live right now because she is showcasing the puppies that she has running around right now. So oh, look how cute they are. Look at how cute they are. They're so cute.
That's Mama.
That's Mama. Oh, hi.
She's being very bad right now.
She's being bad. I would say that she's being a good puppy.
So this is the fence with her neighbors. They also have dogs. And see the little knot hole over there?
Oh, man.
She goes over there and sticks her face and then barks at the neighbor dog.
Oh, no.
Hopefully she won't do anything crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, she looks adorable. But anyway.
She is.
Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. But Mr. Roy.
Often.
Yeah, often. Every single day. So obviously, you say you're tech savvy, so you're doing a lot of that kind of stuff for your friends and for your family. But what are you doing for you during this time?
not much. I mean, when you work outside, 92-degree weather, 100% humidity, you tend to once you do a bunch of work, you don't want to do anything but sit down and watch stuff.
Oh my goodness! Wow, yeah. Because what is it? Because obviously my short-term memory is terrible. Because what is the main form of work that you do again?
I was working in the office as a purchaser, but
Okay.
they've recently let me go. But for the most part, I do warehouse work.
Okay.
I mean, warehouse work and field work. We go out in the oil refineries and do maintenance work and small turnarounds.
Okay.
I mean, it's really hard work, but it pays well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's whenever it's always the work that's like either the most dangerous or the most work intensive that usually pays very, very well. So I guess it's like that trade-off that you get with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the odds of you catching cancer is way higher too.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh,
Why is that? Because what I mean, is it because of the chemicals or?
Yeah, you're exposed to stuff that normal people don't get exposed to.
Oh my goodness. Well, please stay safe. And, obviously even before COVID, I mean, I'm assuming such, you wear masks and things like that for protection.
Yeah, what they told me, they have to wear like fire retardant mask inside the refineries, which is dumb.
Wow. That's just, oh my goodness. Yeah. I always give kudos to people that do that kind of stuff because it needs to be done, but it's work that I don't think I could ever do. So
yeah, it's hot. It's either really hot or really cold. You never feel like you're going out there and the weather's like perfect. It's always, they always want to shut these things down, whether it's really hot or really cold.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But thank you for being here and for making time and obviously, showing just how awesome of a guy you are. You had this stream that you're doing. You're also there helping out your parents, and so you might have to at some point, stop or give a pause and go do something like that. So you're multitasking, man. You do it probably a hell of a lot better than I do. So thank you for being here still. And obviously thank you to everyone that's here right now, to all of my chosen, because obviously the time is different than it normally is. It seems to be, and again, I might be projecting that this is a better time for most of you.
Yep.
I'm more awake.
More awake, yeah. So obviously, it's going to depend on the Sunday, which is why I'm going to try and be, I think I did a better job trying to give more notice this time about, hey, these are the weekends I'm looking at. But yeah, it looks like the 1:30 time is going to have to stick because, as I said, I'm not only potentially going to be serving at the Latin Mass at 11:30, but then in the meantime, I'm going to be live streaming it or helping them live stream it. So 1:30 is going to be pretty much where, or either obviously later can work too, but as far as the earliest I can do 1:30.
Well, Steph's in the chat. She will be in it until she has to go teach her yoga class.
Cool. And thank you for mentioning that because, as you all know, I always try and show some love to the chat when I can. So before we get into what everyone's been watching, whether it be television, whether it be movies, I would say books in that too, obviously, because some people are much more involved with books. We'll go ahead and just catch up with what's been going on in the chat. So we actually had a super chat very early on, a super sticker from NG1TAV, who always sends those stickers. And he's just like, cool, man. I love these little, I don't know, are they blue pears? Is that what they're supposed to be? I don't ever understand it, but they're blue pear looking things with a headband on, and it says cool. So NG1TAV, thank you for being here and for supporting. Of course, Tina is in the chat because Tina's amazing, and she can multitask better than I ever could. And also thank you very much, Tina, for putting in there that if you have a comment or question today, again, just type Odin question, all one word. If you're a member on the channel, your name pops up green for me, and so you don't have to worry about doing that. But I do ask, if you're talking to someone else in the chat, Larry, if you're talking to someone else in the chat, please be sure to tag that person at the beginning. That way I know I can skip that comment because it just helps. It just helps my my ADD. And by the way, it looks like Laura is back. Laura, you back?
Uh-oh.
Cool. You're back, though.
Sorry.
You're back.
Don't drink and stream.
Don't drink and stream. You might press a button you shouldn't.
Yes, Monkey is so right.
Well, I'll get to them. You're too far ahead, Rosetta. Let me get there. All right.
I know.
All right, I'm behind, and as I always am. But Laura, I'm glad that you were able to reconnect. Rosetta Allen was in the chat as well, saying, good day, guys. Good day, everybody. G-Monkey76 in the chat. HyperNX13. Bruce, who's a member on the channel, is here as well. Josue Vagia in the chat. Nathan Slay is here. Max Peach actually had the first question of the day asking me, what's my favorite color and number? So my favorite color is green. Probably a Kelly green. I'm Irish, and so I've always been very fond of that color. And if I had a favorite number, I guess I would go with the number 7. Let's just go down the line with that. Mr. Roy, favorite color and number?
I don't get asked that too often.
Yeah.
I'll probably say blue.
Okay.
I don't have a favorite number.
Well, there you go. Rosetta, what about you?
Black and dark purple, kind of toss up between, and I don't care about numbers.
Oh, okay. Not a numbers person.
Just getting mauled by the kitty.
I can see that. Look at that kitty. Tina, what you got?
Yes. Favorite color? Oh, I don't know. Pink before it was taken over by a bunch of maniacs. Purple. I wear a lot of white and cream.
Okay.
Don't know if I really have a favorite number. Maybe 8. I don't know.
So you love those crazy 8s is what I'm getting.
Crazy 8, yeah.
Crazy 8s. All right, and Laura, what about you? Favorite color and number?
Green. Green for the color.
Yes.
There was a Seinfeld episode about like one of the characters wanting to name their kid Seven, I think, after somebody from the Yankees.
Okay.
I found that really funny. Do you remember that, Tina?
Yeah.
And somebody stole it. It was George. George wanted to name his kid Seven.
Oh,
then,
no.
Somebody heard that and stole it from him.
Oh, no.
So 7 works for me. That's fine.
There we go. Awesome. So, hey, here you go. Finding out more and more in common with each other. Both of us love green and the number 7.
Did you say that also?
I did say 7, yes.
That's so weird.
I know. My story is not nearly as fun as yours, though. You mentioned Seinfeld. I would say it's because it's biblical. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
7 days.
Also 7 of 9 and Star Trek and all that.
Yeah, and plus,
Star Trek,
it's a number that's featured in a joke. Look at that sleepy puppy.
Go on, Ornery.
Oh, that's her 24/7.
Oh.
She's the most chill dog ever. She's like, can I sleep here?
I just want to chill. Well, that's adorable. So Max Beach, hopefully that answers the question about that. Let's see here. Who else is in the chat? Nathan Slay. I don't know if I shouted you out. We do have Stephanie B, so I do want to give a huge shout out to Stephanie B, who I believe is in Central Time. So that means she's here until 2:30 Eastern Time, I'm assuming is what that means. And she's teaching a class. So make that money, Steph. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
My general. Glad to see you here, though. Let us see. Max Peach says, smash that like button like Abby smashed Joel's skull. Wow. Well, okay then.
Oh, that's awesome.
I watched that stuff. That's one of the worst games I ever watched on YouTube.
Oh, I watched the. We could talk about that once we see what everyone's been watching, because that's something I've been watching PewDiePie's gameplay of that, and oh boy, yeah. But anyway, yeah, smash the like button in whatever way you see fit. If that's your motivation, then okay. Father,
Nothing like a little violence.
Yeah, a little violence, right? Father Christopher Miller, hail Father. He says, okay, now I'm here. You can end the show. Father, you're actually here early for one of the first times ever. I know that your mass schedule has kept you away from the streams as of recently. So, Father, you're here in the chat. Welcome back. Let us see. He says, hail to Steph and Tina. The CF Productions is here, and then he makes that dramatic landing and says, hello there. Hello there. How's it going, CF Productions? Bruce is in the chat, I said before. 70B says, hello, Chief. Hello to you. Father Christopher Miller says, you told me I have a plethora, and I would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell me that he has a plethora. As we hear some ice going in for Tina, I believe.
Oh yeah, you all heard that, huh?
Oh yeah. If I say your image popped up and it had the little pulsing for the speaking, and I was like, oh, someone's adding some ice to their beverage.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to mute that next time.
That's okay.
Oh, it's kind of cute.
It was. I have to make note to it. And also, to show love to all the animals, there is the little kitty cat being held by Rosetta. Little kitty cat.
The old one. She's almost 17 with arthritis, kidney issues, and cancer, but she's still ticking.
And looks as young as ever, from what I can see at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Little kitty cat. Doesn't matter how old a cat or dog is, they're always babies to me. But Father, I'm glad that you brought that up because we recently had in our group chat between me, Steph, and Tina sharing an image of the fact that the actor that played El Guapo has not aged, is a vampire, and was in a show back in, what, the 70s? Or the 80s, I think?
Stephanie said, I think it was an episode of either Gunsmoke or Bonanza.
Yeah.
So that was like early 70s.
Yeah. And it was funny because in the actual video that was shown, let me go ahead and see if I can pull up where she said it. So it says, watching Gunsmoke reruns and look who is in an episode. He's discovered the fountain of youth. And yeah, looking at this episode of him, it's like, holy crap. Like, he looks the exact same. Like, no difference whatsoever. But anyway, I had to get that out of the way since you mentioned a plethora, Father. Nathan Slay says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Nathan. AFK Bard is in the chat. CWD Trixie's in the chat as well. Let us see. Mike Jackson's here. What's going on, Mike? Nathan Slay says, Emperor is a good title. Talking about for Tina. That would be. But that would make it a higher title than mine. And I don't know if I'm okay with that. This isn't the MCU's version of Thor / Anyway.
I used to be Empress at work.
Oh, did you?
I was Empress of the Universe. So because everybody always.
Well, you know what? Keep on going.
Oh, no, I was going to say everybody always came to me with, I don't know what to do with this, or how do I package this, how do I write this? So,
well, you know what? I love that title. And so you are not just Empress, you're Empress of the Universe for us,
Thank
too.
you.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. Empress of the Universe, I will take it. Yes. So we got my general.
Like a Queen song should start playing at this point.
I know, seriously, right?
Empress of the Universe.
Boom. Now she's got her own theme song. I mean, again, she is just.
Oh my God.
You're just 2 steps away from that YouTube channel. I'm telling you. Just Joe 47 says, what do you know? Sports Wars with Jeremy is also streaming. Does he have any dignity? Well, they do normally stream on the weekends, and so I'm the one that moved the time from what I normally do. And because mine is usually a random Sunday, usually towards the end, no excommunicados, unless, of course, it was someone that was like supposed to be on the panel that was doing it, or someone that was, a part of the community that's always here that knew better, like some people, one person, maybe, holding a cat right now, perhaps, maybe. But we'll see.
What'd you say? I
Oh,
was
nothing.
listening to you because you're not that interesting.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, all I have to say to that is your kitty cat is adorable. Anyway, Nathan Slay, we're keeping this PG, everybody. Nathan Slay says, will a movie ever be rated G for gory? You know what? Something tells me that there's probably some country that has a code where G might mean just that, or it might mean something different. I know that every country has its own different set of codes. That's why I love always getting some Blu-rays that come in have the different codes for it. In fact, the Mad Max one, this one actually does, even though it's region B because it came from Australia, it does have an R rating, but next to it has 18 plus, restricted, high level violence. So it depends on the country. Sometimes it just has that different information there. So that's a part of the Will Gentry pile.
It's not a code as much as it is a guideline.
Pretty much, yeah. It's more of a guideline. I like that Pirates reference. Let's see. Nathan Slay says for a channel name idea, Movies and Wine with Tina. Yes, indeed. Glory in the Hobbits in the chat says wine, cave, and movies. Why cave? Wine, cave, and movies? I don't know about that one. We also have a very special guest in the chat. His first name is Paul, but I like to call him Mr. Peabody's evil twin. This is Mr. Peabody's evil twin with the beautiful hair. So,
Peabody, by the way, is very fun to talk to. I actually got to stream with him for a while recently. He's actually really nice.
Oh, he's a hoot. And you get him and his Cubba Adam together. It's
And
just
he makes very good music too. If you actually go look at his channel.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he's very talented. He plays guitar, he sings, and I've always said this about him whenever I listen to his stuff. I'm like, your microphone actually, like, what kind of microphone you use? Because it actually sounds really, really good. And he's just like, oh, it's just some cheap little thing. And I'm like, huh, well, you do good work with that. Even with his upside down internet though. So that's the impressive thing, is that he can get anything.
Really friends in this community that are in Australia.
I know. It's funny because when I do my overall breakdowns, when I go to my analytics for the channel, obviously America is the highest. And then it's like in my top 3 is like it's the US, Canada. I would combine those two together. UK, Australia. Those are my top 3. And it's funny because I feel like I talk like the Australians are the ones. Is she attacking you?
No, she's rubbing on my head.
So she's attacking you. That's what I'm seeing from this. You say rubbing on the head. I say that's an attack.
Affectionately.
Affectionately, yes, of course. Latino Slant, who is a member on the channel, what is going on? He says, hail. Hail to you, Latino Slant. Father Christopher Miller says, gin. Is that the beverage of your choice today, Father Christopher Miller? Are you going to join the people drinking on stream? Because I won't. I'll stick with my handy-dandy, clear, pure water. Ah, delicious. By the way, this is sponsored by Contigo. No, it's not, but still. Contigo, a wonderful water bottle that maybe you can buy. Perhaps. Anyway. What?
That's nice.
Oh, you're looking it up?
The water bottle. Yeah. I've got you on my TV, and I just happened to look up, and I was like, oh, that's a nice water bottle.
It actually is. No, like legitimately, Contigo's. I'm not sponsored by them. Just to confirm, I don't want any illegal action brought against me. Though I think based on my recent projects, that's probably the least I have to worry about. But Contigo is for sure actually a very good brand, and if they ever wanted to sponsor the channel, hey. Mm-hmm. I drink from one every single stream, so boom, I already got the promos there. Zacharat315 in the chat says, howdy, what's going on, Zacharat315? Thank you so much for being here. There was obviously some loves from the pups. We got the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey in the chat. I'm assuming this is the real Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey.
Yeah, there's no YouTube spoof of him.
Okay, gotcha, because... yeah, there was some confusion, Hunky Chunky, but I'm glad you're here. Hunky Chunky is one of my brethren from the UK that can usually not be here for the evening streams because he sleeps like a normal person. Will Gentry is here too, but Will Gentry, he'll stay up all night, and he's, just a night owl. But Hunky Chunky, he needs to get his beauty rest. Guy. Yeah, he's crazy. Hunky Chunky, on the other hand, is normal and needs to get his beauty sleep. So I'm glad that we were able to stream at a time that you could be here, Hunky Chunky.
I have had him on my stream in a freaking 8 mask telling dirty jokes too many times to call him normal.
I think that he's wonderful, beautiful, and stunning, and that's all I'll say about... He's an
amazing guy, but he's not normal.
He is stunning and brave, is what I'll say about Hunky Chunky.
Jazzy, down.
Are you telling me to get down?
Yes, and she's looking at me like, I don't want to.
I can't
get funky.
I about to say, you telling everyone to get down, to get funky, to dance around a little bit? That's what I heard. Yeah, girl. Everybody get down. Let's see. Mr. Peabody's evil twin says it's actually 1:58 a.m. where he is. That's right. They're like 15 hours ahead in the Upside Down. So Mr. Peabody, man. It's so funny because on the normal streams that we have, you've missed a couple, and those are usually a reasonable time where you are. And now this one, middle of the night? Come on, bruh. You must be doing something with Adam. I just know it. Dean Heiss, who's a member on the channel, says, hello, Chosen. How's you doing today? Dean Heiss, glad to see you here. Member Latino Slant says, hail, Odin. Any new movie pick streaming? I don't know what that question means. I'm going to I guess there's new movies streaming, if that's the question, or movies that I've picked up. I have a stack of films that were sent to me by NVD Visual, the ones that send me those Arrow video releases that are always movie titles that I probably won't watch because they're always odd and obscure. However, to give you at least some useful information, on the just added section of HBO Max, you can watch Dr. Sleep, which I would recommend. It was actually a very good film up until the end, where it went on a little too long. And Scoob is now available also. And that's a film, actually, that I might want to watch and review for the channel because it's actually really a brand new release that was not able to get released in theaters. So hopefully that answers your question, Latino Slant. Hunka Chunka Funka Monka says, of course, Tina can multitask better than you. You're male. Yes, this is true. This is true. Thank you for pointing that out and for degrading me. Thank you.
And don't multitask as well. Deal with it. We're not the same.
This is a fact. He also says, well, I went out for a boogie a week ago last night. I bet you did.
Last Tuesday. This is a running thing for him. He does this intentionally because he knows the comedian that did this song is one of my favorites, and it makes me blush when I listen.
I gotcha. Dean High says, I went... Are you done?
Get it out.
You just smacked at me while I was speaking, and I didn't appreciate it. Don't you slap at me. Don't you slap at me. But anyway, Dean High says, I went to school with a Kelly Green. Seriously, I don't know Kelly Green. Father Christopher Miller said, oh, I get it.
Irish green.
The color. Yeah. I was like, Kelly Green, what's that? Oh, the colors that we were talking about. Yes. That's awesome, though, that there's actually a Kelly Green. Father says, I think I locked up. That you got locked up? That's not... Father, that's not good. Father. Why? Dean Heiss, George wanted 7 for Mickey Mantle. Ah, gotcha. So 7, the number 7 was for Mickey Mantle. That's in reference to why it's one of Laura's favorite numbers. Why the reference that was made to while talking about Laura's favorite number was in reference to the Seinfeld episode. There it is. So George Costanza wanted it for Mickey Mantle.
Thank you.
Yes. Sierra Production says, a character that names her kid 7. That's hilarious because my Taekwondo master's name is literally named, he's named literally 7. I'm not kidding. That's actually a pretty badass name for a sensei. Bow to Sensei 7. I feel like he's a character from a video game. Sensei 7.
Or an anime.
Or an anime. Yeah, exactly. Sensei. Oh, man, that could be a total anime title. Sensei 7. The brand new anime based on the manga. Based off of the... Yes, absolutely could be that. Bruce says he's just lurking. So glad to see you here still. Anyway, Bruce. Max Peach says, give Tina the rank of Lord High Commander. No, I think Empress of the Universe works very well for her.
I like Empress.
Yes. Yes, indeedy. 70B says, Odin question is how you get my attention. This is true. However, do be warned that once I'm done with the chat, we're going back to the panel. And so there's not as much of a chance for me to get every comment that is said. Latino Slant says, I'm back. What did I miss? I can't help you with that, man. My memory doesn't go back that far. Sierra Production says, Tina must be looking forward to completing our training. In time, we will call her Master. No, Empress. Empress of the Universe is all that she needs to be known by. JKD Buck is in the chat. He's saying, hello. Nathan Slay, family movie night. Be rated R for right movie for your family to watch together. That would be a little too much. Blake St. Clair. Yeah, here in Oz, we have rated R, which is 18 and over. We also have G, which is the lowest rating for general viewing. Yeah, that's pretty much what we have here. No pizza, Andy Morley, but welcome to the channel. Elizabeth Lyons says, pizza where? Welcome to the channel. Mr. Peabody's Evil Twin says, yep, my $16 microphone, 16 Australian dollars, which you know is really nothing in American dollars. So just being honest with that one. Father says, and it'll be bullet bourbon. Okay. Sometimes people need to put more context. Like they put the quick sentence and then I'm like, I don't even know what you're trying to say.
Well, he mentioned gin earlier, and I think you were asking, was that what he was going to be drinking? And he said, well, he was going to wait until his live stream, but he said he's going to drink bullet bourbon, which is an excellent bourbon.
Okay. See, he could have typed that out, but instead he assumed that I was reading the chat live, forgetting that I always fall behind and my memory can only retain so much.
Give you more credit than you deserve.
Yeah, but self-deprecation is a fun hobby. Nathan Slay says, "What movie do you hate the most? Have you not been following me recently?" The newest film. That would be Tina's, yes. That would be Tina's, yes. But for me, obviously, that would be Artemis Fowl. It is garbage. It's terrible. It's awful. I'm sure someone will talk about it on the panel based on that sigh I just heard. Father says, I have no clue. I have no clue to see Scoob. Got a scene in a family movie where Scooby is saying dick when he's trying to pronounce Rick over and over and over. Well, that's not family friendly. That's not family friendly at all. And Father, that's not family friendly for you saying it. So that's a double whammy right there. You need to go to confession, Father. That's right. That's right. I'm a layperson. I'm telling you, you got to go to confession. Mr. Peabody's evil twin. Multitask. Men are a straight knife. Women are like a Swiss Army knife equals multitask. That's a great metaphor. That is great. It means that, men, we have that one thing that we can slice perfectly. But for women, it's like, hey, what you need, I got it. What needs to be taken care of, I got it. Hyperdex13.
Analogy somehow talking about women like to cut people in their violence.
Could be. At least for one person, might be. Sweet angel. Nothing here. Nothing to see here. Don't ask me about my knife collection. Hyperdex13. That's right. Hyperdex13. Speaking of numbers, have you seen the animated movie 9? Pretty weird. Elijah Wood voices some doll characters. I have. It is odd. I can't say I like it, and I can't say I hate it. It's just bizarre, and I don't really want to watch it again. Latino Slant says, who's a member, Odin, thanks for your picks. I highly recommend I'm no longer here on Netflix. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness gracious. Am I ever going to catch up with this? How am I this far behind already? This is insane. How many people do we have watching? We have 39 people. That's
39, yeah.
Wow. Y'all are asking too many. I know. What can I say? I like to talk to people. It's a habit of mine. Venom Broly 93. If you think 7 is a badass name, how about 8? Well, do you know why 6 was afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. So therefore, by logic alone, 7 is better. Nathan Slay, the other reason why 7 is powerful is because of the name of a movie. CF Productions, I might have made a typo, as I usually do. I meant my Taekwondo's master's son is named 7. Well, that's pretty cool. Dean High says you can't use master anymore. It's primary. Yes, that's right, because we live in clown world now. This is very true. JKD Buck, congratulations on 22K subs. Thank you so very much, man. Greatest community on YouTube. I wish more people were like you and the Valkyries. YouTube would be a better place. Well, JKD Buck, thank you very much, man, for the kind words. And thank you so much for the love and support. And yes, I agree. My Asgardian community is great. And some of the best are the members on this panel right here. So shout out to them once again. And we will be getting back to them, I swear. But the chat is just getting greedy with their comments. Tina Bojan says, has anyone else watched A Ghost Story with Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck? I've not watched it. She says it could be beautiful art or a waste. I can't speak to that. Father, I'm just going to skip you because he was tagging Tina. So Nathan Slay, yes. Right, forgot about Fartimus Foul. Canceled Venom, who's a member, says, oh, I'm late. Did I miss the laundering? Actually, you did, because I did find a way to create another PayPal to move cash to that PayPal and then move it back to the Streamlabs, so that now, speaking of which, the goal is now, this is not the complete updated goal, but as you can see, it's gone up by 100, and that's because I put money that was put directly into PayPal through Streamlabs, but of course, nothing can be easy. So, yeah. There we go.
I feel like we're going through Goodfellas or something like that. We were talking about
It's like, at the end of the day, if the tax man comes, I'll just say, hey, look, all right, it was money that was given to me. I gave it to myself to give it back to myself. I don't see the problem there. I love watching shows and streams, says Hunky Chunky. They do me good, like they bloody well should. Well, I hope.
Me about that musician again.
Oh, gotcha. And then Kenson Venom says 606, 60.60% conspiracy. Yeah, I still haven't updated it completely now that I know I can do that. But anyway, that's it for keeping up with the chat, though, because now I got to get to my chosen, because I got to give them love and attention. So let's go ahead and go to Laura. Laura, what you been watching recently? Any television, any movies, any books possibly you've been reading?
Oh, yeah. Kind of all over the place lately. I watched a bunch of stuff on HBO Max that is interesting. Finished the Us movie.
Okay.
Which I don't normally care for horror movies because they're just there's like, lame horror movie tropes of everybody acts like completely stupid. But I watched the first half of it and then I finished it later. And I was kind of glad I finished it. It was very amusing. I would have loved to have seen that in the theater because everybody would be screaming at this screen like, "What are you doing?"
Oh yeah, I mean there's some horror films where it works better with an audience, and that is a movie that I actually do like, because some people criticized it early on when it was initially getting released because they were like, oh, it's got politics in it. But then when you actually watch the movie and you listen to the director himself, he doesn't really try and push that too much in the film. And if you look at it as just a good like horror film, it's actually a very well done horror film, I think.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't quite understand the whole holding hands thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if sometimes I missed stuff because I don't really watch stuff too carefully because I'm like dealing with dogs or cats or life, So I was like,
that's our lifetime.
So I mean, it's like I thought I'd go back and maybe watch a YouTube video or two and try to understand like the whole upside down. It looked like a high school underground thing with escalators. I don't.
Yeah, that part. But, yeah, and to be fair, that they don't go into too much detail. They kind of leave some of that a mystery, and I'm sure that's done on purpose, to make you think.
Well, that's good. Sometimes it's not great to have everything explained. It's just I kind of figured something weird was going on when like the little boy could control his twin little boy. I was like, okay,
yeah,
something's going on here. That was interesting.
Yeah,
but I didn't see the twist coming, which I should have. It was kind of obvious twist, but I do like that. It was,
and you know what too, with the twist you're talking about, we'll keep it spoiler free because it's not too old. I mean, it's not like a brand new film, but it is a movie that I think that people, if you're a fan of the horror genre, you should watch. If you like the movie Get Out, I loved Get Out. I thought it was fantastic. Then I think you might like this one too. It's not the same style, but it is still, I think, just very. But the twist I did not see coming either. Like in retrospect, you're like, oh, you had these different things to look at, but it does it convinces you, like you're like, oh wow, that makes sense, and I didn't think of that.
Oh yeah, it was single word movie weekend because I watched a lot of stuff. Like I watched Apocalypto.
Okay.
I rewatched Jaws. I didn't care for Apocalypto; it was too violent.
Okay.
Rewatched Jaws. Finished Whiplash.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I did like it. I stopped watching it the first time. When he slapped the kid.
Okay.
Because my daughter was in band and. I was like, I knew she always felt it was like super competitive, but I hope she never had a director, like that. But I finished it and I really did like it.
Mm-hmm.
I see why he got the Oscar for that performance. It was.
Oh yeah, and how about that ending?
Yeah, it's I'm glad you recommended it to me because it's one of those movies where like you probably wouldn't watch that. Unless someone recommended it to you.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it didn't get a whole lot of recognition when it first came out. And but yeah, I mean, it's that movie where, as I always say, when I saw it the first time, I was literally on the edge of my seat at that ending. And I never thought that a drum solo could move me. Like the amount of storytelling told in that end sequence with no dialogue or with very little dialogue is just amazing what they were able to do with it.
That's what I did appreciate about it was the relationship between the two of them. It's so much it's visual, and I've always liked him as an actor, the J.K. Simmons. And it was so interesting to watch their relationship kind of grow and change. And somebody's vacuuming. This is awesome.
We really
vacuum, cat.
Can you hear that?
I can't.
Okay. I can hear. So it's
Okay.
coming through the mic.
I hear it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. But no, it was, it's nice to have. I mean, you have so many movies that are very heavy on dialogue, and that's great when a writer can do that. But to have so much of it just being, he's playing his music, and you see the facial expressions, or the first time that the drummer played for him, it was just that's when I cut it off. It was so tense, and so I don't know, it was personal for me because, like I said, my daughter's really into music, and I know she was under a lot of pressure, and so it kind of got personal. But hopefully he's kind of the competitive bands are certainly a different situation than just a school band.
Yeah, and obviously, with that film, luckily it never says based on true story or inspired by true events, and so we can hope that obviously didn't happen in the way that did. But obviously, in any business, or rather in any sport, in any activity, whether it be band, cheerleading, football, wrestling, you name it, right? Any club, anything, there can always be a sense of not just like crazy competition, but then also people that are pushing you so far that it's borderline abusive. You see that happen, especially, I don't know why this came to mind, but especially like in gymnastics, right? That's one where you hear a lot of cases where, people get emotionally and verbally abused, and obviously football too, right? I've seen coaches where, they're hitting the helmets and, they're yelling at them. And obviously I know that there's some elements to that they try and explain as being, oh, well, this is all a part of, being a guy and toughening up. But then there's other things where like, yeah, but you might be going too far sometimes.
Yeah, my brother was really big into sports. I mean, he played everything. I mean, including like bowling and, anything that was physical, he would do it. And he tried out, I think they were trying to get him a scholarship. So he tried out in high school for football and lasted like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
He's more of a basketball, baseball player.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not sadistic. He's like, I like sports, and I know I'm good at sports, but I'm not into the whole, tearing me down to build me back up. He's like, I'm built up. I don't need the tearing down. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know that some people might be like, oh, why are we talking about sports? But it is relevant to the movie Whiplash, because I think it gives you this microcosm of a music school where this happens, but it's something that is applied to and can be applied to any sport or activity where a teacher or a coach can do something that's similar to this. And it reminds me of two sports that, obviously we're having a son, and, I'm still kind of trying to get grips with that. We're 25 weeks along, and something that both my wife and I both agree on, though, is that, as long as it's within our power, the two things that I will never let him, or I will be very strongly against him doing, is I will never let him play football, just because of the risk of injury, and especially the head injuries. We're learning so much more about that every single day. So I would never let my son play football. And then the other sport would be wrestling, because
wrestling.
What was that?
I was in wrestling.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure like it can get intense when you're trying to make weight and you're having to lose crazy amounts or gain crazy amounts over a short period.
Have much of that issue because it was a very small group we had.
Okay. Yeah, and also I don't know if it's different with male wrestling versus female wrestling, if there's a difference between it.
There wasn't a difference in the one I went to because there wasn't enough people to have two.
Okay. Yeah. But no, the two schools that I've worked at, right, the first one was an all-boys school. Now I work at a co-ed. And the sport that I've always had, I've had more issues personally, just like my mental and emotional issues with the wrestling situation more so than with football. And the reason why is because I saw what those kids would go through. Like, I had kids that were, passing out in class because they were, quote unquote, dieting or juicing or trying to cut weight. and trying to cut, 20 pounds over 2 weeks. And I just, it frustrated me so much because it can mess you up for life.
I always had a problem with the ones that push the make weight stuff because they're actually trying to get light enough that they can make a weight class that's actually beneath their body type so they can hurt the kids more.
Yeah.
I do not approve of the schools that push that, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we eventually are getting a cultural change. We're already starting to get that in football. There's a lot more protections being put in at the high school, college, and national level, especially with head injuries. And so that's a good sign. But, I'm hoping that they can do even more. But, Laura, getting back to some of the things you've been watching, I like how you were like, you had a very single name title weekend, and you mentioned, Whiplash and Jaws and Us. And, what else did you watch, or anything else that you would want to mention?
Oh, I did watch Network.
Okay.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
Tina, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
I'm as mad as hell. Yes. That is, oh my God, that's, wow. I haven't seen that movie in probably 30 years.
I can't believe I've never seen it, but it was so fitting for like today,
Yes.
Yeah, if anyone's never seen it, I'm speaking as someone that's an expert. I've actually never seen it either. It's on my queue for HBO Max though, because I know it's on there, and I'm sure that might be a movie that we watch during our AMM streams at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's all about the media, right? It's all about what the media does basically to keep eyeballs on screen.
Yeah, it's also set. I love anything set in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. You're watching it, and I was a young kid during that time, but I do remember that whole like malaise kind of feeling, and everything is in the movie. It's kind of this like brown color palette, and everybody's like stressed and drinking and unemployed, and it really it encapsulated. There's certain movies that just really encapsulate a time, and I feel like Network was that. I mean, you had a lot of the Patty Hearst type rebels against society going on, and but no, Faye Dunaway.
Oh wow, yes.
Oh, God. She needed to do more work because she was amazing. I mean, I look at some other stuff. Of course, everybody's seen Mommy Dearest, but I've got to look up some other stuff that she's done because she stole the whole movie.
Laura, have you seen Bonnie and Clyde?
Yes. Yeah, I'm covered in fur.
Because I think that was one of her first major movies when she really became very well known. And I know she had a stint in the Supergirl movie from the 80s, but she's like as over the top as she was playing Joan Crawford.
That whole movie was over the top. There's an element of nostalgia 80s cheese to it, but it's so over the top.
Yeah.
It was it's one of those, if you had a list of movies to recommend, I definitely would put that on there.
Yeah.
It was like halfway through the movie, I started noticing, I was like, I mean, nobody has a cell phone, and everybody's kind of using the old desk phone to communicate. Nobody's got a computer on their desk.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of great like conversations, and people really spending a lot of time talking to each other and analyzing each other and understanding people. So it was great.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 70s because there's actually a podcast or a future podcast episode I'm in the works with. There's a former student of mine actually who just graduated. I think I've mentioned this on the channel, where when he was a student, he said, "Hey, can I be on your show? Can I be on your channel?" I said, "No, you're a student. Absolutely not." And he's like, "What about?" And as I was like, "Okay," I just kept saying, "No, you can't." I'm like, "Hey, about this. Once you graduate, then you can come on." And sure enough, 2 years later, he graduates. He says, "Hey, I just graduated. I'm can I hold you to that still?" And I'm like, "Hey, yeah, sure, man." And turns out, he actually wrote an AP paper on film. And so I'm glad that you mentioned the 70s because the topic that we're going to be discussing is the comparison of films that were made in the 70s, horror films made in the 70s, with the subtext of the Vietnam War being a part of some of the discussions of those films versus the remakes of these movies in the 2010s or the later 2000s in the post 9/11 world. And some of the connections he makes are actually really fascinating. So look forward to that. That's going to be an extra podcast that I think I'm going to, first put on the Patreon and Subscribestar exclusive. But I think I'll actually eventually put that out public too, since it's going to be a bonus one. But look forward to that because, the 70s had a lot of really interesting dynamics going on because of things going on with the Vietnam War and therefore the government and the media and the betrayal. And glad that you mentioned that. And it's again, Network is a film I've been wanting to see for a long time now. So thank you for reminding me why I want to see it so much.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Well, Laura, you know what beat Network for Best Picture, don't you?
Oh, no. What?
Rocky.
Oh, well, I do like Rocky, so
I do
can't
too.
argue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I have no problem with this when that happened. So
it's one of the few times where you're like, you know what? Network might be, on paper a better film or a more important film, depending on obviously who you ask. But Rocky is also a very well-made, well-written, and I would, argue important. Obviously, look, cinematic history. Which film is remembered more?
Well, fun Rocky fact, that actually is my theme song because
Nice.
Somebody was playing this fun game. It's like hit, random on your my neighborhood is so loud. Hit random on your iMusic, and then whatever song comes up, that is your theme song.
So Rocky is your theme
and
song.
I just happened to have the Rocky theme song, and it came up. So I was like, okay, that works for me.
Nice. And also, just for some peace of mind, Laura, you're using your phone, right?
Yeah, I'm in the backyard.
So luckily, because phone microphones are designed a certain way, a lot of the stuff that might sound loud to you actually has not been coming through that much. So, because you just mentioned that, it's like we heard something in the background, but
heard a car that time. But most of the time, she said something. I haven't heard anything.
But it's that even the car that I heard, it was very distant. It wasn't like a brrr, or anything like that. So, yeah, you're okay with that. So,
well, I'm gonna mute now and take a little break. And,
cool.
I will listen to you guys talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all those films that you've watched. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move on now to Rosetta Allen. Rosetta, obviously, I know that you're not as, because of various things, not as fond as the movies, television, but anything that you've been consuming recently?
Well, I have been actually rewatching a couple things. Well, it is the end of June, so of course this month we did redo the Princess Bride stuff and all that. And
That's
actually,
right.
One of my friends on here actually did a video clipping parts of the movie or poem I did for my husband, and he actually performed the Love Ballad, our wedding song, on it for us and posted the video on our anniversary to us.
Well, that's sweet.
And so I've been watching that video quite a bit for obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I've also actually been watching the old Star Trek movies because of my panel I host every other week. So we actually just redid Wrath of Khan last week here.
Nice. Very cool. And
always one of my favorites, how many literary references and things are thrown into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what out of all of those would you say, obviously, besides the anniversary, because that's obviously special, what was your favorite of the things that you've been watching?
I think it was really, for me right now, my happiest moment is going back to Wrath of Khan, just because I remember seeing this as a kid. I remember the time with my parents. I remember how much those bugs freaked me out when I was really little. Horror movies never scared me, but those bugs in Wrath of Khan did.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because I've never seen Wrath of Khan, so actually I don't know the reference point.
Watch the movie and you'll get it.
Okay, gotcha.
They're freaky as hell.
Okay. Is that something that I could Google search and not get anything too much spoiled for me, or should I wait for the movie?
No, don't search it.
Don't search it. Okay, gotcha. And then I know that you've, obviously you've been, working on a couple of projects. And so I figured now, would actually probably be a good time to talk about those projects.
Okay. So where do you want to start here with that?
So let's start off with the one that's coming up the soonest that I think you said that you've been doing some of the work on it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got my boss just launched his first book, which the book itself I work on an edition we're going to release later. However, the trailer video and the stuff that's being done for it that's listed on his site to the funding he just started 2 nights ago is actually a song that was created by me, Aaron Easton, Purple Smurf, and Anthony from Dark Gift Comics together. And I wrote a section of the lyrics and actually performed that section in it as well in the video for the campaign.
Nice. And I don't know, because I have the Indiegogo link for your other project.
I have, if you can give me about a minute or two.
Yeah.
My husband left his account open here so I can send you things if I need to.
Yeah, go ahead. And while you do that.
I'm still locked out of Twitter because they hate me.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's right. I heard about that. Yeah. You got canceled like Jeremy did.
No, because I can actually come back at some point.
Well, so technically Jeremy can too, but he doesn't want to. Like, he got a suspension, so
I can come back on the same account. Sorry, I'm just I just sent it through his little notification.
All right, cool. Well,
that's the trailer that I'm actually one of the performers in.
Okay, I'll post that in the chat, but I do need to catch up on a couple. So, Canceled Venom. Thank you for the Canadian $2 super chat. Says third. No. Okay, this is for what my future son can't do. Third, no knitting. I'm okay if he knits. That's fine. 4, no curling. That's the greatest sport ever created. So of course he can be a curler. And 5, no laundering. Yes.
No money laundering.
I'm about to say I do expect him to launder as far as doing his laundry. If that is what you mean by that. So. But anyway, let me go ahead and pull up this link, and I don't want it to play through because of the shared audio, and it would make everything sound loud. So I'm going to go ahead and post this into the chat. So this is the trailer, right?
Trailer, video, and the links to the actual campaign and stuff should be underneath.
Perfect.
It is not even 2 days into the launch yet, and he's already almost to 1,000 raised.
Great. And so I'll put this as Rosetta Project.
And yeah, the later edition is not going to be the same version of the story. It's got different pages, different other things, different artwork. He rewrote the whole sections. I'm doing a colorized of the demo, which will come out later.
Nice. So you're doing the coloring work on that specifically. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, it's funny because, with comics especially, as I always say, I'm such a noob on them, but it's amazing how many pieces and parts go into making a comic because you have different people, right? You have the people that actually draw the images, and then someone else normally will actually do the coloring, and then you obviously have someone that is doing the writing, and just so many things that you just wouldn't think about.
I am so impressed and proud of him because everything other than the colorist work is him.
Okay.
Everything.
Nice.
Creation, writing, inking, lettering, all that. All he has is an editor to help verify things and double check it.
Nice. And I don't want if it's going to be a spoiler or anything, but if you want to hold that up to the screens, that way people can see the work that you've been doing.
This is so much of this section.
You can hold it up closer if you want.
All right. It's kind of hard to see.
There you go. So there's the coloring that she's been doing. Looks great so far.
Yeah, and so there's
awesome.
that.
Very cool. So that's the first project. And again, people in the chat, I do see a couple people are tagging me. And don't worry, I will get to comments. But again, the Chosen stream is mostly about my Chosen because they are usually not only the ones that are here all the time doing, just being a supportive of the channel, but they're also financial donors of the channel as well. And so, of course, I want to give them as much time as I can because they are not just watching. And as I always say, time is the most precious thing, but they also do even more. So that's why I'm focusing on them more so than chat. So I think a couple people are new to this stream, so they just probably didn't know that. So no harm, no foul, but I will, again, get to comments once we get a break in the action. But the K-Man donated $5 via Streamlabs donation. So K-Man, thank you very much for that. So that's the first project that Rosetta is working on. And then the other one, didn't this one just go live within the last...
Fully. I put up the mailing list because I'm starting to collect information for people and put together those who are going to get extras when I put it out.
Okay.
And that's the link you have is the mailing list.
Great.
Because it took a little while to get everything else up and live.
Awesome. And then I believe that's a trailer. Oh, no, yeah, there's a trailer attached to it as well.
That was actually completely done for me very quickly by Rambling Canuck as a gift to help me out until I can do a different one, more complex.
Very cool.
So it was a very nice thing for a friend to do to help me out.
Very cool. All right, so that's now been posted as well. So if you want to get access to being on the mailing list for Rosetta's book, and again, it is it's covering it's Eagles, an adventure through photos. For those that don't know Rosetta, she is a passionate photographer of various creatures, but most especially with this work, obviously focusing on eagles.
There are two things I can announce with this book. It's going to be the main version, which the cover is going to be drawn by my boss, the one that I just told you about the comic from. He's actually doing the drawing. I'm going to be colorizing it. So the cover is actually going to be based in Comicsgate with the two of us working together.
Okay.
And for the alternate version of the book, which is going to have different pictures inside it as well.
Cool.
The cover is also going to be a joint project with me and Dark Gifts.
Awesome. So actually, I have the Indiegogo pushed up on the screen so that way people can see it. So again,
the mailing list is actually going to get a signed print of Spirit.
There you go. And it says right there, a signed photo of a close-up of Spirit, the eagle, by signing up. So again, you're not committing to anything, but if you are interested and want to support Rosetta and get more information if
you back it, you get the extra with it when you do it.
Boom. There you go. So awesome. Anything else that you've been watching or anything that you've been working on?
Not that I can announce yet. I'm still working on some test pages to try to get a few jobs, so we'll see how it goes.
Very nice. Very, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. All right. Mr. Roy, I know that you were laughing earlier at one film, which I'm assuming means that you've watched one, but I'm sure there's others too. So, Mr. Roy, what have you been watching?
A few good things, a lot of bizarre stuff. Probably start off with some of the good stuff. I watched Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. I kind of mixed on the ending, but I probably need to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I love the animation, the film. I love the characters. It's a really good film to me.
Nice. Yeah, and for those that are not aware, it's one of the Studio Ghibli films, and they're just notorious for making great animations. And what's great about their films too is that it's not, your stereotypical Disney or DreamWorks. It's not this meant strictly for kids or even necessarily for families or broader. It's more of a mature storytelling where it's not like it's bad for kids, right? It's not like you can't show it to your kids, but it is something that just has, so much more to the story, right? Just has so much more to offer in a lot of ways. And so Howl's Moving Castle is always one that people say. Now, of course, the big question for any fans of the story of the film are going to ask you the question, which is, did you watch it dubbed or subbed?
I watched it dubbed. I'll probably watch it subbed on the next watching.
Yeah, and
I watched it on HBO Max, and I think they might have the sub version on there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I will say this much though, sometimes it is definitely infinitely better to go with the subbed version and get the actual, the legit actors, the original actors for the voices. But what's great about the Studio Ghibli transfers is that they normally get really good actors, good voice actors to do the other ones. So
yeah, when I watch a film, if there's an English version, I watch it first. That way, when I rewatch it with subtitles, I could pay attention to the subtitles a little bit better.
Yeah,
and that's usually how I go. I mean, there are some films like Das Boot where I highly recommend watching the German language with subtitles. Watching it in English is kind of weird.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And by the way, for anyone with a wrench, so obviously, Tina, I know that you're trying to do two things at the same time, but I don't know if Peabody might be asleep at this point in time. But anyone with a wrench, there looks like there's a potential raid of former students that are coming in.
Okay.
One one had to get hidden for his comment. So anyway.
Yeah, I saw you just hid that, and I was like, I didn't even see the comment.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's just, it makes me sad, that, kids that, for the most part, again, when you teach, when you're a teacher, you love your kids, like you care about the kids, you care about them, you care about, their well-beings, even though it might not seem like it. And it's just sad that some of them just don't quite understand that. So if you're here and you're respectful, great. It looks like some EVC is here saying former student, not here to spam. Hey, man, that's good. Again, as long as you're here just being, normal and being cool, then there's no problem. I don't mind former or current students being in the chat. It's when they decide to be asshats that I have a problem with it. So sorry to cut you off, Mr. Roy, but yeah. So you watched Howl's Moving Castles. That's obviously a great film. What else you been watching?
I watched the Never Ending Story for the first time.
First time ever seeing it, really?
Yeah. Oh, it scared me as a kid, so I didn't finish it. So.
Yeah.
It was on HBO Max, so I was like, I'll watch this, and it's okay.
Yeah, there's definitely some...
kind of a weird movie.
Oh, yeah, and there's some scary moments in the film, too, for sure, like for a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I don't really have an issue with it. Hang on. I'll find out. There's a bunch of noise outside.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, for that, isn't that, I always get that one and the second one mixed up a little bit, but isn't that one when the horse gets stuck in the mud and loses hope?
Yeah.
That scene crushed me.
That was a really sad scene.
Yeah, obviously that scene crushed me every single time. So that's why it's like I don't ever want to watch the movie again because I just don't want to have to go through that experience.
I was like, this kid's film got intense quick.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, they're going there, man. It's crazy.
I mean, I think it's actually a German film, or it was made by Wolfgang Peterson. So it's not a U.S. made film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to have some kind of hardcore stuff that you wouldn't see in a U.S. made film.
Yeah, and that's a fair point, right? Because obviously, as we mentioned earlier, the standards that exist in different countries, there's different codes, there's different, basically different standards that each different country will follow, for sure. And obviously, there's one film that I hear that you have not yet mentioned. But before you mention it, is there anything else that you've been watching?
Nah, the rest of the stuff's pretty awful. Okay. Played.
Okay, and so what is the worst of the bunch that you think?
Probably be. I would say Artemis Fowl, but I watched something I think is actually even worse.
Wow, really? Yeah, because I've been waiting for Artemis Fowl. I've been waiting for that one to come up, and so
yeah, Artemis Fowl is really bad.
Yeah,
like it's a film that I had a really hard time paying attention to. You don't know what the heck is going on throughout most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this really bad narration that felt like it was shoehorned in order to make the film kind of make sense.
Yeah.
But it just comes off as annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this weird scene where I think a troll turns into a gopher and he goes underground, dirt comes out of his butt.
Oh, I have the full description on that one. So Josh Gad, who plays his character is that he's a giant dwarf. And so he's discriminated against because he's a giant dwarf. So that's the first thing. That's the first part of his character, is that he gets made fun of because he's a giant, but he's also a dwarf. And then in the story, and this apparently has been confirmed, is actually how it is in the books as well. The way that they dig is that they dislocate, and I know that this part drove me crazy too, they dislocate their jaw. And so basically, all of a sudden, it becomes a CGI face dislocating its jaw so that it can then chomp down on the dirt. And then obviously, the dirt's got to go somewhere. And so, yeah, poops it out. It's ridiculous.
Everything in the film, I mean, did they ever really explain why the fairies can't be seen by humans?
Not really. And that's the other thing, too, is that there's major plot holes in it. Because remember in the earlier part of the movie when there was a troll that was loose, and so they put the time bubble around a town to stop everything, including the troll, right? So then they say, oh, we're going to do the same time bubble, but we want everything outside of the bubble. But if they're trying to capture somebody, why in the heck would they not just have it be where it's going to stop time inside of the bubble so they can catch the people?
Yeah, it's none of it. Like, yeah, I was like, what is this?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they do explain it, but at this point, like, I think both you and I could say we just don't care if they can.
Yeah, then the stupid MacGuffin device they had was in the house the whole time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. The special device that does something amazing, that the villain that has a bad voice changer for a voice, they're like, talks like this with a voice changer. That's the villain. And it's, oh, yeah, you're terrified of it, right? Oh, my gosh. Like, that's what you're hearing constantly. You never see the person's face because they're setting up for a series, and I can't see how they could possibly make it a series.
I didn't hate the film as much until I watched your video and realized that they were going to theatrically release this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't see how if I would have paid money to see this thing, I would have been screaming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And I want to say the budget for it was well over $100 million, like close to $125 million or something like that. And yeah, it's what I'm most interested in is how in the heck are they going to explain how they've made money off of it since they didn't release it theatrically, and they're not making any direct money off of Disney Plus except through subscriptions, which apparently are down. So
yeah, it's also
Disney.
Yeah, Duck Disney.
It's so weird how Disney can spend so much money on a film that doesn't look like they spend 125. It looks like they spent probably 40 on that film.
Oh yeah.
Where's that money go?
Yeah. For sure.
Someone's nose.
Up someone's nose, exactly.
Nose is a good place to guess for Odin's channel. I had some other guesses.
But you know what? Up someone's nose has a lot of symbolism there, I think was what...
It's got that weird. I mean, the whole entire film looks like some weird like film you'll see on the Hallmark Channel. It doesn't look like a $125 million film.
No.
It's insane that they spent that kind of money on it.
You know what the sad thing too, though, and here's the thing: when you start to break down, you know, who's in there. First off, I feel terrible for the kid playing Artemis because the kid can't act, and I hope that he gets. I hope he gets protection, because I could totally see, like the Jake Lloyd situation that happened with Star Wars. Luckily, he's a little older than what Jake Lloyd was at the time, but it's just that kind of performance where it's like cringe level bad. And
the movie's a very forgettable film, so hopefully no one. I mean, the only people I think will come after him will probably be the people that like the books.
Oh, and they are very, again, as I said, the most successful video I've made since lockdown has actually been that review of Artemis Fowl, because basically it's all fans of the books in the comment section saying, please don't judge the book based on this. This is not the story. This is not what it's supposed to be. But what I was going to try and say is that the most frustrating part is this is a movie that's directed by Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh, who's done amazing stuff. This is co-written by a legitimate Irish playwright who I've actually seen one of his plays, and so I know that he actually can write a good story. And so it's one of those things where you have to ask the question, where did it go wrong? And the only answer in my head can be, it's got to be the studio, hashtag Duck Disney. It's got to be the executives. Some producer must have had way too much creative control with it, because it just doesn't make sense.
From what I heard, this movie passed through so many directors and so many actors. They have numerous actors being like, they auditioned for the role, but they let the film. It was a development hell.
Yeah.
So what I'm guessing, they filmed a good part of this film is like, we need to get this out. So they did the narration to make the story sort of make sense, and they're going to throw it out there in the movie theater, and then COVID came, so they decided to throw it on a streaming service, and this is what you got.
It's a fair point, and you know what's sad is that apparently it went through several remakes, and because the date got pushed back even before COVID several times. So it's like, okay, so that tells us that you were working on it, but then when we see the product, it's clear that you didn't work on it all that much.
Yeah, it looks like an unfinished project that they just threw out there on a streaming service, but I can't see them releasing this in movies.
No.
I can't.
No, me neither.
No way.
And you know, the other thing too is like the best thing we could say about it really is that it's 90 minutes, so at least it's short. But even then, it's like that's 90 minutes too long, because it feels like the movie takes forever because of what you're having to watch.
Yeah.
If the best thing you can say is thank God it wasn't longer, then really shouldn't be made.
Yes, that I think that speaks volumes about what's going on.
Or the fact that I didn't pay money to watch it.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
There's been a few times in my life I saw movies and I'm like, I got this free and I still want to beat my money out of the director.
Absolutely. So,
Shut up.
Mr. Roy, anything else? Any other films or TV you want to talk about?
Probably be best I tell the story a little bit first before. So I was watching one of the EFABs, and they brought up a video from YMS called "Kip of the White Lion."
Mm-hmm.
So for about 2 hours, this guy describes how the Lion King is basically not a ripoff of Kip of the White Lion.
Oh,
So I got curious and watched the first 12 episodes of Kip of the White Lion from 1965, and it is probably one of the most bizarre TV shows I've ever seen in my life. It's a Japanese TV show that got translated into English probably poorly.
Lord.
Yeah, it's a show that's all over the place. The animation just looks like crap. For people to say this thing, The Lion King ripped it off, is baffling to me. It's
That's
nothing like The Lion King.
Wow, yeah.
The book it came from is, though. That's the problem. The book it came from is, because it actually was a book before the animation show.
Oh.
You talk about the manga?
Yeah. Actually is a lot more
I would suggest watching YMS's video on it, because he goes through it too. The manga series.
Also, even if they didn't rip off directly, they still obviously took names and other stuff. And
you talk about Simba?
Because there's too many names and things like that are too almost exactly the same.
Yeah, because Simba and Kimba, what they explain is that Simba is actually a word. It's not an actual name.
No, it's not. It's not just that. It's the whole thing. There's so many that actually come from it if you actually listen. And I'm not saying it's a direct ripoff. I'm saying there's definitely they took stuff.
Well, I think that gets to the discussion though about how.
Yeah, it's a good discussion. I mean, I watched that video and he explains every single point. He brings up these authors in these books and systematically breaks their arguments down and why they're wrong. It's kind of like watching one of Mueller's videos.
Well, yeah, because
you can watch those things and still disagree too. That's the fun thing.
Yeah.
I can sit there and go, that fact's right, but I don't agree with what they think that means.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I'll say is that the compilation videos you see on the internet where they're comparing the 1965 version to the Lion King.
Those are not legit either.
Yeah, those are extremely not legit because they're using footage from the 1997 film, not the 1965 animation series.
Okay.
They're blatantly lying to you.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, there's definitely both sides.
I can understand the argument if there's stuff within the manga series that is comparable to the Lion King. That's still an argument. He does dig into a little bit of the stuff that's blatantly wrong, but not all of it. I mean, there's so much of the manga that it's really difficult. He also brings up a really good point. I don't know if any of y'all watched the South Park episode where they basically sort of debunk this sort of criticism you get where you're like the Simpsons did it kind of thing, where if South Park does it, it's comparable to an episode of The Simpsons. Is like The Simpsons have been around for 20 years. It's hard to make something that's not been done in The Simpsons.
Yeah,
this is sort of the same situation with Kip of the White Lion. It's got mangas and TV shows that date back 30-40 years of over like 3,000 hours worth of material. It's really hard to do something and not rip off Kippa in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think that's the fairest point, and that's kind of I think where I would fall with it. Where I don't think especially with the evidence that's likely presented, is that it's clear that it's not a direct ripoff from it. However, one could argue that it has inspiration from it, but then again, you fall into going into so many different movies that have inspirations from others that don't give credit or don't pay royalties or anything like that. So I think that's something that definitely is it's interesting because you often hear that the common thing always said, well, yeah, remember when Disney stole the White Lion, but it sounds like there's more to the story there, and that's what I like.
One of the problems we have in society with this is that there's a very fine line between inspiration and adaptation of an idea versus direct theft. I would argue actually several of the things in my Star Trek, several of the things that Roddenberry wrote actually pretty directly rip off different things that Heinlein, Asimov, and other authors did. And I still love Roddenberry. I love him to death. He himself admitted a few times in interviews, I am a bit of a shameless plagiarizer. but it's still there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the Keep Earth Human League, the Federation, all that stuff are by name in Star Beast, which was written in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all Star Trek now.
Yeah.
To everybody.
And if obviously, I think that the Lion King comparison is definitely the least of Disney's problems, because when you look back to their history of cartoons and ideas, most of them have all been adaptations of other stories. And obviously we see those directly and attribution can be given, but it is interesting though how this one doesn't seem to be nearly as clear cut as some of the other ones.
Well, I think the issue most people have is that Disney advertised The Lion King as their first original story without ever mentioning that the Kippa, the white lion, even exists. I think that's what a lot of people have issues with.
Okay, that makes sense.
On top of, they went to the U.S. Copyright Office in the late 90s to try to keep Kippa, the 97 movie, from being released in the U.S.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
kind of why people are upset about it.
And you know what? With all of that, that's where the fight should be, is on Disney being asshats to them, rather than the focus being on the ripoff or the.
They tried to sabotage Fern Gully too. Actually, if you research the history,
really?
They tried to sabotage Fern Gully because they didn't want to share Robin Williams starring in the movie for another company in the same year.
Yeah.
Disney does some really weird stuff.
I just love the way you said it. Does really weird stuff. They do, though, right? They do very bizarre things. But again,
weird stuff is a nice word for it. I've got a few terms for what Disney does and what they are.
Oh yeah, we all.
Oh wait, Odin's Channel.
Yes,
Odin's Channel.
Clean. That's why we do Duck Disney instead of the alternative. And
that's not how I say it on my channel.
I know. And I really wish I don't know what happened to him, but I guess we can give up on Randy joining us at this time. But once I do have a link, if there ever is a link to his shirts, which I'm supposedly getting in the mail soon, so I'll check my P.O. box on Monday when I try and find what Mr. Roy sent me, that obviously I'll wear it and I'll give the shout out that it deserves. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Roy, thank you so much for bringing that up, because I think that is something that a lot of people probably who watch the channel, I know myself included, probably didn't, have as much context about. And sometimes, hey, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, I mean, I watched those confirmation videos and just took the word for it. I didn't think there was anyone out there that will take the time and effort to go through that stuff and be like, yeah, a lot of this ain't right.
Yeah.
I mean, he openly admits that there's people that worked on The Lion King that knew that Kippa existed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so there's still something there that could suggest that they did take inspiration from Kippa, but to call it a blatant.
I think they crossed the line from inspiration. I don't think it's a direct ripoff.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll say it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's very much a legal definition of, infringing on somebody's copyright and like an artistic, interpretation of that. I mean, as an artist, you're probably going to give the original work a little more leeway.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, just watching Network, I saw several scenes in Network, and I was like, I've seen that in other movies, where they copied certain things or were inspired by.
Yeah, and I think
it just happens with artists, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, and that's why I think if anyone's gonna have that battle out, I think it should be on how Disney acted towards the other company, rather so than the similarity stuff, because as Mr. Roy mentioned not too long ago, right, at some point in time, and you're seeing it now in Hollywood, why do you think Hollywood is nothing but sequels, prequels, etc., right, reimaginings? The reason why is because you get to a point where a lot of stories have already been told, and so if you're going to tell a story about a lion, and obviously, and actually someone made a comment, so I'm going to give a shout out to Aiden Vickery. I'm going to get to the chat before we get to Tina, because obviously Lord knows Tina is gonna have some stuff to say, because she is the empress of the universe. she is the empress of the universe. But Aiden Vickery makes a good point, saying I thought the Lion King was meant to be a ripoff of King Lear, and again, that I think is where it comes from. Yeah, I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of Shakespearean elements to the Lion King, and one could easily argue it borrows elements from it. I think the reason why we focus more so on the King of the White Lion is because there's names that sound similar, right? And it is also a lion. And so the similarities seem to be too much. But then when you actually dive into it, which is what the videos Mr. Roy's been talking about, when you actually dive into the stories and you dive into what it actually, the product was, you realize, oh, if there was anything, then it probably wasn't nearly as much of a ripoff as we might think it would have been.
Yeah, I mean, like, Kippa has humans throughout all the stories. And its themes and its storyline are all over the place. It's really bizarre to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing all the things you've been watching, man. It's I'm gonna go ahead and say it. That's the most I've heard from you on one of these streams, and I like it. I like it, Mr. Roy. I love it, man. I love it. And again, once again, I have to thank you so much for helping me figure out this NAS stuff behind the scenes. And also for getting that drive set up for me as well, because I'm excited to try it out. I love that techie, nerdy stuff. It's fun.
No problem.
Awesome.
Yeah, I always for a first-time NAS owner, I always recommend Synology products. They're just generally a little bit easier to use than like QNAP and all them other weird off-brands. Oh, yeah,
and it's so funny because everyone that is like a tech head is immediately like, oh, you have to use Unraid, or oh, you got to use this. And I'm just like, I know that is what the mass market people, the ones that have like the industries who've built their own, who bought like the old school enterprise one and put their own stuff in. Like, I know that's what y'all use. But for me, it's like, look, all I really need is the storage space that can hold the information and can give me access to it. And based on my research, the Synologies seem to be giving me a plethora of stuff to be able to...
Yeah, do you want an easy-to-use box that you could forget that exists? It's Synology.
Yep, exactly. And it's going to make it easy because, boom, rip it, and then be able to put it into the file over my internet. Again, just make it a lot easier overall. And again, it can run constantly as well for... years and years and years. And yes, Aiden Vickery, thank you. I thought King Lear didn't sound correct, but he says he's been corrected. It was Hamlet. That makes more sense. Yes.
Yeah, Hamlet. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was their actual inspiration for the story for Lion King was Hamlet.
It's like, let's make Hamlet, but with lions.
Yeah, basically.
And I wonder how much stuff was up their nose, as Tina would say, when they came up with that story.
Oh.
That's what she made that reference earlier. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's saying, oh, I know where some of that money went. I think I know where some of that money went.
I don't know. I'm just laughing at the fact that all three cats have mauled me during the stream.
Oh, no. That's why cats are sometimes evil, but not always. But
it's all affectionate mauling.
Is it? Anyway, before we get to Tina to give us her to give us her update, I will just try and run through some of the things in the chat. Hypernex13 says, it's funny how Howl's Moving Castle had a better love story than Twilight and Raylo combined. Not a high bar, but Oh, yeah. Agreed, for sure. I think my favorite reference to the Twilight romance, though, is the first 5 minutes of the movie Up have a better love story than like 90% of the love romantic films we've had in the last 20 years. If you've ever seen Up, the beginning of Up makes me cry every time.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, I only saw that one time and I was like, that's enough.
Movies. I have a problem with most romance movies because most of them aren't romance. It's somebody cheating on somebody dumping somebody abusing somebody, or, oh, look, I have this great friend who's been romantic to me for all my life, but I'm not going to notice them until somebody else tries to screw me wrong or something.
Which is why,
horrible story.
Yeah, which is why most of the stuff, it's not romance. It's as they always say,
let's be real.
It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? That's what it's all focused on. I don't know why I put rock and roll and drugs into that, but hey,
what do you want?
It felt appropriate. But anyway, But that's the reason why I love Up, though, because it is an actual love story in about 5 to 10 minutes, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Let's see here. Rosetta, if you're going to talk to the cat, can you at least mute your microphone, please?
I can't.
Come on. Hey, look, I love my animals. I love my animals too, but come on now. All right. Anyway, let us see anything else in the chat that I may have missed from the members on here. Or anyone that's tagged, man. Let's see. Bristolian Dave says, with your love of physical media, what are your thoughts on storing discs and artwork in sleeves rather than cases? I've had to do it with DVDs due to lack of space. That's a good question. Obviously, you know, I'm a physical media nut, and I go with discs. And that's just me. That's just a personal preference. I just like the aesthetic of it. I like being able to look over at my shelf and say, look, I have all these movies, and obviously I digitize them too. That way I have, you know, the physical, rather the digital backups of them. But yeah, that's what I prefer personally, is to have them in that way, storing them with their actual, you know, with the actual, how is it? Cases, slip covers, stuff like that. I like to keep those all together. But I understand where you're coming from. There was also a comment that I said I would get to, but I want to make sure I do, and it may have been further back. It was Alpha Omega, I think. Yeah, Alpha Omega says, love these ladies, and you too, of course, Odin. All the best from an English Catholic... Okay, this doesn't make any sense. English Catholic, agnostic, white, anti-LGBT plus Marxism, gay guy... This identity crap is fun. Wait, what?
Okay, I think he's saying he's English Catholic, but now he's an agnostic. He's not Catholic anymore.
That's the thing, is that I don't...
He's against all the agenda politics.
I'm like, I was like, several of these things don't really go together. I don't know exactly what was trying to be said, but Alpha Omega, thanks for being here, man. And then he says, I didn't mean to repeat my comment. I keep getting tagged wrong. It's all good, man. I still don't understand it, but... Hey, it happens. Hunky Shunky said, Eagles, an adventure through my stomach. Ooh, that's a shot right there. EVC, since you were respectful in the comments, he says, I still need to turn in my DRW. It's a little late. I think it was due October 23rd of 2017. Can I still turn it in? So I used to give my students worksheets because I told them for homework assignments, I was like, all right, homework's not going to be hard. Just read the text. You might get, you know, a pop quiz on it every now and then. And then it became very clear they weren't reading the text. They weren't doing the homework. And so that made me force my hand to give them these DRWs, which made them basically read and then fill it out as they were going through the text. Now, of course, many of them still cheated and copied off of other people, but at least they had to write the information down. And to answer your question, no, the grade stands as it is. So good luck with that. Anyway, alrighty, let's see. Got that comment. Got Aiden Vickery. Got your comment already. Alex McCarthy.
Stoli and Dave has one for you.
Ooh, I'm gonna get to that, I think, because I'm at Alex McCarthy. I'm at 314. So I'm just a few minutes away. Alex McCarthy says, howdy, Odin, how's it going? Seems more chill here than the Sports Wars stream. It's never chill on the Sports Wars stream. Nathan Slay, have you seen The Social Network? Yes, and I love some parts of it and hate other parts of it. That would be my quick review, since I do want to get through these as quickly as I can, which luckily doesn't look like there's too many more. Aiden Vickery says, I've been corrected. Got that. Nathan Slay, I thought Lion King was supposed to be a ripoff of Kimba the White Lion. That's what the whole discussion that we just had was about. Aiden Vickery says, to be fair, Let's Make Hamlet with Lions is a better pitch than Let's Make Live Action with CGI. Yes. Comment of the day so far, Aiden Vickery. Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That is fantastic. Yes. Hamlet with Lions is by far a much better pitch meeting than, yeah. You know what we're going to do? Let's take live action, but instead, let's put CGI in it. Let's make a live action version, but instead, we'll make the entire film CGI. Gosh.
How did that film win Best Visual Effects if it's just a CGI film. It's animated, basically.
Basically, it's animated. Yeah, and that's what frustrates me is that the Academy has rules and regulations, and it usually doesn't make a damn lick of sense, and they can they make it up as they go. The points don't matter, right? Yeah. We have a new member. I thought he already became a member, but I guess not. Oscar Meyer. Great name, by the way. Oscar Meyer is now a citizen of Asgard. So thank you very much for becoming a member. As you can see, it's just popped up on my screen, and now you get the little gif of me petting River. I always love when people subscribe and stuff because I got all the gifs of my dogs, and they're adorable. Tina Bojan says, in defense of women who take 4 years to realize they should be dating, marrying their best friend, it helps if he gives some kind of hint that he's into you. Tina Bojan with some dating advice there. Oh yeah, there's something that men and women on all sides need some help with, right? You need some nudging along with. You need to understand the important things in life. But sadly they don't. Rosetta Allen says, my cats are nuts. This is true. Bristolian Dave says, thanks for answering. All my Blu-rays are stored in their cases. Just the DVDs are in sleeves. Gets hard to find space when you have over 2,000 of each. Oh, trust me. I think in the Plex library I have set up, because I digitized mine, it's like over 700, but that's not how many individual discs I have, because I have one collection that has 50 movies, one that has 25 movies. Like, I have different sets that have different, numbers of films in them as well. But yeah, and actually that does make sense, because from what I've researched, DVDs scratch more easily than Blu-rays do.
I'm gonna have to get going. I can't keep sitting like this right now.
Oh, okay. Please plug anything or anything you want to say. The floor is yours.
Reshare those links that going. Sign up for the mailing list if you want to get an extra big fancy print of the Eagle when I send out the books and stuff. And back my boss if you can, because the more he makes on this comic, the more he can hire me for projects. So.
Boom. And I've just posted both of them. I have the YouTube link posted to the trailer that features Rosetta, and also to your Indiegogo page as well. I'm so sorry that you're feeling bad. And hey, go rest up, okay?
Guys, bye.
All right, have a good one. All right, hopefully she starts feeling better. I know that she's had some aches and pains and stuff that's been going on. So please, let's obviously, like we always do with everyone, thoughts and prayers towards Rosetta for speedy recovery and for her to feel better, for sure. Let us see. But yeah, sorry. The DVDs apparently do stretch more easily than Blu-rays do. So Blu-rays actually, for some reason, because of the way they're made, they still can scratch, but not nearly as easily as DVDs can. And that actually, I'll bring up a point. So this is allegedly a part of my plan with the server, allegedly. So basically, once the films get, backed up and, everything's nice and safe on the server, as the disk image file, if, let's say, a friend or a member of the community said, hey, I own this movie and it's damaged, could you help me? And let's say they were like to email me, or not email me, but like mail me their Blu-ray, and that way I could see, oh, this person obviously owns it and it's just scratched up, replacing it. That's something that I would be planning to do. But obviously, you didn't hear that from me, because I think that follows into line legality, but I'm not exactly sure. Allegedly. All this is alleged, by the way. Allegedly. Maybe. But anyway, so there's that. And then let's make sure we're caught up. Oscar Meyer, got you. Thanks for becoming such a great. I love it. And then Canceled Venom, of course, being the troll that he is, says, I love your wieners, Oscar Meyer. They do make some pretty good hot dogs. Mando Merc is in the chat as well. Raycor8's in the chat as well. Larry comes in just in time to say, Hail Rosetta. Hail Rosetta indeed. And Nathan Slay, newsflash, Jon Favreau, you cannot make The Lion King look like a documentary while having lions evoke human emotions. Yeah, it doesn't work. That whole thing just didn't work. Larry, a good DVD player, can play through scratches. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't played a DVD in a long time, so. And Tina says, after seeing, Tina tagging me in here, having me read her comment when she could have just told me. It says, after seeing Nitpick's documentary on how bad the Lion King remake is, I'll never watch it. Every fake animal just looks dead. Yeah, basically, when you do a side-by-side comparison between Lion King from the 90s animation and the live action one, live action, right? The live action in quotations because it's actually all CG. How did they get away with it? But there's no life in the eyes. They did a great job designing it to look exactly like a real life lion. But when you have a voice actor that's trying to give the same emotion and you're not getting the same reaction on the face, it doesn't work, right? That's, there's uncanny valley to an extent, right? But it's even more so. If you can't show emotion, but you can speak it, it's just never going to work out. So, but anyway, we're caught up now. So Tina, Empress of the Universe. Tina, what have you been watching? Tina. Oh, maybe she might be getting coffee because I know that sometimes she has to.
I have a picture of her falling asleep next to a picture.
Okay, here I am. Hello.
She's like, I've been summoned.
Hello. Am I here?
Yes, you're here.
Okay, I had it muted. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I kept coughing. I'm so sorry. I heard her saying.
Wait, what were you getting?
Coffee. No, I finished my coffee a long time ago.
Okay, I
gotcha. No, when I tagged you in that, it was because Nathan Slade was commenting, and Nitpicks did a really good YouTube documentary on why Lion King fake live action doesn't work. And what I thought was funny was Favreau making this comment about, well, I want to be like a documentary. Well, I can go look at Animal Planet or National Geographic if I want a documentary. Why do I want to pay $20 to go see your stupid movie? Just saying.
That's that's a really good point. And you know what? That's what I think, it's still, God, I can't believe that film made over $1 billion.
Well, Nitpicks was saying that he thinks a lot of it was people going to see it because they had these wonderful memories of the animated, so they dragged their kids to see it. These kids will probably grow up and have no memory of fake Lion King.
Yeah.
But he said what the now adults are doing is filling in all the good stuff that they remember from the animated and putting it onto the live action.
That makes sense.
And I thought that made perfect sense. But he did a lot of side by side, and I was like, yep, this looks like something I used to see as a kid when my grandparents would watch Wild Kingdom or, something like that. It looks like that. So why would I pay $20 to see something?
I want to say, Tina, that you mentioned that. It's a good point. Isn't there like a psychological profile or condition where you make that connection even though it's not like you see it, but it's not? That
was the point he was making. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the reason why this movie made so much money is because people are like, oh, I remember that moment when Simba's dad fell, or Kimba's dad, whatever, fell off the mountain, and they're filling all of that in. And okay, so they cut Scar's song. Oh, but that's okay because I'm filling it in with my memories from the animated. And so, I think that's the reason why the movie made as much money as it did.
Okay. Wow.
So, but it was a really, Larry Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Yeah, my grandparents used to make me watch that.
And you know what? I bet those animals showed more emotion than the CG ones that we got in the live action. And
you're right. My mom, bless her, used to watch that Mericats show, and those little animals had more emotion on their little faces than anything I see when they show a clip from that Lion King.
Yeah. Because again, I mean, the animation, like, let me give credit where credit's due. The animation's brilliant. Like, so kudos to the animation team. They did a great job. They were told, make these as lifelike as possible. Well, good job. You did. But it just doesn't translate into what the Lion King is and is always supposed to be. So
yeah, and he went into some other points about how they set up shots in the animated version to draw your eyes, whereas Favreau did not do that. He was more interested in see if you can figure out if this is CGI or if we actually filmed this in Africa. So it was a really good documentary. I enjoyed it. So.
Nice. Well, very cool. So, and you said that's Hitfix?
Nitpicks.
Nitpicks, okay.
Pix. And
Okay.
he has a YouTube channel that I watch now and then, and he tears into, I think this might be the first Disney movie I've seen him tear into. He usually goes after a lot of the crap they do on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
yeah. Sounds like my kind of guy, Well, I mean, it sounds like a very cynical person. And when you nitpick tiny little things, sometimes people are like, why are you focusing on this one thing? Because it matters to me. That's why. But
exactly.
But yeah.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of, of nitpicking, and I'm kidding. But seriously, obviously you've been with us a lot of our movie mornings together, but you haven't watched all of them. I believe you watched the last one with us, right?
I watched
up until the end,
and I watched Kelly's Heroes up until the end when my Discord kind of went kablooey. So.
Oh yeah, have you been able to watch the end of it?
No, I was looking for it on Pluto TV because they had been running it, and it hasn't been on the last several days. So hopefully I'll.
So here's what we're gonna do, Tina. Here's what we're gonna do, because you're awesome. And because you're going to have to remind me of this, and luckily you're great at that because I'm terrible at it, you're going to tell me when it's a good time for you to jump on Discord again, and then I'm going to play the movie from wherever you left off, and I'll just play it through for you. And that way,
my gosh.
That way, just for you. Other people can join if they want, but that way you can see the end.
Okay, because it was like we were like 20 minutes from the end, and then I got the circle of death, and thank you, I appreciate it.
Of course, and if that doesn't work, I'll find another way somehow.
Okay.
Don't ask questions. I'll find another way that you will see the end of that movie, Tina.
Yes, because I was like, I'm so caught up in this.
I know, yeah. It was a great film. It was fantastic.
It really was. Well, as usual, I had to go back into my letterbox to see what movies I had seen. So
speaking of which, I don't even know if I'm following you on, so I need to pull that up.
You're not, I don't think you are.
Yeah, I need to follow
you, I think.
Yeah. So do you have like a name? Like, is it just the normal channel name that you have, or is it something else?
I think it's Tina.
Okay.
The _987, I think. And there's my little icon is different. It's a picture of Elizabeth I when she was like 13 years old.
All right, I see it. All right, followed. Boom.
I don't have. I think I only have one review on there, and it was a review of a Greta Garbo, John Gilbert movie.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
All right. Well, now for the record, you have 2 followers now on there, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna post that link, so that way anyone that has a letterbox can follow. There you go.
Thank
Boom.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
You. Well, I usually I mainly keep it so that I remember what movies I've watched.
That's why I need it too, because again, if any of my streams are evidence of my memory is a fickle thing, so having something like that's the reason why I made that Google form for people to put in movie recommendations, because every stream it was like, hey, you should save this, hey, you should do this, and I'm like, I'm not going to remember that. And if I write it on a piece of paper, guess what? I have 1,000 pieces of paper just around, so let's just do it all digitally. So yeah, Letterboxd, I agree. It's a great place to store all the stuff you've been watching.
It is. Well, and Nathan checked out my list of my personal favorite movies, and I think it's like Tina's top 40 plus one, because I just kept adding to it.
That's awesome.
But as far as the movies I've seen, good grief, I didn't realize I'd seen so many.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start at the bottom and then work my way up to the top ones. The worst ones I saw was a Cecil B. DeMille silent movie called Manslaughter, and it was just all over the place. Ooh. And you had some woman that she's rich and she's a reckless driver, and she gets a motorcycle cop killed, and her boyfriend is the district attorney, and of course he just hates prosecuting her because, she's a nice person. And so she ends up going to prison, and then he resigns and becomes an alcoholic. And Then she learns her lesson in prison. They get back together. Then he's running for governor, and the other guy is like, "Well, I know your fiance was in prison." And so she's like, "Oh, well," he's just like, "Well, I'm gonna resign from running for governor." And she's like, "Yes, because then your wife would be known as prisoner such and such and such and such." And I'm just like, I hate you both.
Why should I care about this relationship? I don't like either of you.
No, I was like, he's the district attorney. He was doing her job. I mean, she didn't murder the cop, but she did cause his death. So that's why the movie's called manslaughter. But it was like, it was just very unsympathetic. I didn't like it. And other really bad movie I saw was Shadows on the Stairs, which was supposed to be kind of a mystery movie, but the acting ranged from just write my paycheck and let me get out of here to if I scream my lines loud enough, everybody's going to notice I'm in the movie. And so it had a couple of murders and some smuggling, and at the end the amateur detective finds out who the murderer is, but he doesn't tell the police because the murderer found out that his wife was having an affair with the guy he murdered, and that was why he did it. So he was like, well, there were extenuating circumstances. So I was like, yeah, I don't like you all either. So
yeah, it's really hard to like a movie when you like dislike all of the major characters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
exactly.
You have to have that moment of clarity where you sit back and you're like, wait, why am I watching this?
Why am I watching this?
Why should I
was
care?
like manslaughter. It was like I had heard of it in DeMille's filmography, and I was curious about it. Even the effects that they did, like when she's racing down the road, even those were bad, considering D.W. Griffith was doing similar work in like Intolerance. And I was like, DeMille should have known better. I'm not quite sure why he did this movie, but anyway, there you go. My 2.5 2-star level movies, Mummy Returns, which I had not seen since it came out at the movies.
I love that movie. I love both of those, the first two.
It was better than I remember.
Yeah, like it's not a good movie. It's like 2.5 stars is a fair rating for like the objective quality, but it's go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, it was kind of, and that effect of when The Rock comes out as the Scorpion King, that's one of the worst effects I have ever seen in any movie ever. And it was really funny because then the next movie that came up was The Scorpion King, so I sat and watched it again. So what can you say?
I'm glad you brought that up, because there, obviously it's notorious for that one scene with the Scorpion King because of that CG. There's actually a YouTube channel, and I forget which one it is, where it actually went in and they redid the effects.
Oh wow!
And it actually doesn't look terrible. You're like, oh my gosh, this is actually watchable now. It's pretty cool.
I just don't get that you have not infinite amounts of money, but you have a studio backing you up. You're following up on a very charming original movie, the 99 Mummy, and then you're throwing out special effects like that. And I mean, when I saw it at the movies the weekend it came out, when The Rock came out like that, people were laughing so hard. It was like, okay, well now you know your movie's gone, because people are laughing at your effect, and that shouldn't be happening.
Because it looked nothing like him. It looked nothing like him.
It didn't. So anyway, yeah, it was kind of funny. I saw the Scorpion King came on after Mummy Returns. I ran across The Trespasser, which was Gloria Swanson's first talking movie. The movie was terrible. She was good. Found a movie on Internet Archives. The first one I have 3-star level, but the 2.5-star level one is called Lot in Sodom. And it's about that lot. And
yeah.
That lot, yeah. And the director's name, I had never heard of him before. His name is James Sibley Watson. And the movie looks like it would be something that was made in the 2000s, or at least late 20th century.
Mhm.
And they did it as a silent, but Lot in Sodom was actually made in the early 30s.
Mhm.
But it has a very avant-garde look to it. And it runs less than 30 minutes, so it's a quick watch.
Wow.
And I fell across that one because I looked at his Fall of the House of Usher, which I'll talk about in a minute, because I thought it was better. Paris When It Sizzles with William Holden and Audrey Hepburn, and that was not a very good romantic comedy. I know what they were trying to do, but I just didn't think it was very funny. And the backstory about the making of the movie was more interesting, because Hepburn and Holden had an affair when they made Sabrina. And that's 10 years later. She's married to Mel Ferrer, and Holden wants to start having an affair again. His alcoholism was so bad that the house he lived in, the director moved next door to him to make sure that he didn't drink too much, so that they could get the movie made.
Wow,
and
that's bad.
That it was just, I was like, oh my God. And you look at him in the movie, and then you think about him in Sabrina, or Sunset Boulevard, or Stalag 17, and you're like, oh my God, yeah, he's been hitting the ball hard. But
Damn.
That a director has to move in next to you to keep an eye on your drinking, that's just, it was, oh my gosh.
Wow.
A Fool There Was, which is a silent. It is one of the few movies left in existence that was made by the original vamp. That's where the term came from. Theda Bara. If you twist the name around, it means Arab death. And when I first heard about her, and you see her and she's very exotic, I thought she was like from the Orient or something. She was from Cincinnati. It was an entire Hollywood creation. And it's kind of an interesting little movie about a woman, and they call her a vampire, not because she sucks blood, but because she sucks the life out of men. She uses them. And you see these men that she has used, and it's like some of them now have no money, and they're like, look what you did to me. And she just turns her nose up and walks away. But she has an affair with an American ambassador who has a wife and a daughter. And by the end of the movie, he is literally crawling down the staircase because his life is completely ruined. She has sucked everything out of him. And no matter what the wife does to try to, hoping he will eventually see reason and come home to them. No, the last scene is like Theda Bara shows up, and he's just like, oh, it's her. And he's just like on his knees, just holding on to her clothes, and the wife just leaves. And I'm like, good, go get a divorce.
Oh my
God. But yeah, Theda Bara did a whole bunch of movies, but most of them are no longer in existence. So A Fool There Was that was the one to put her on the map. I forgot who I was talking to on Discord, and they were asking me about a movie studio in France. And because of that, I found The Birth, the Life, and the Death of Christ, which is the life of Christ in about 35 minutes. It was made in 1906 by a female director, Alice Guy Blaché.
And what year was that?
1906.
No, that couldn't have happened back then.
Oh, no, I know. I was like, oh, female director, look at this. Wow.
The first female director was Brie Larson when she did Unicorn Store.
Or that do woman.
I love how you call yourself. You're just like that.
Do woman. But yeah, in 35 minutes, I mean, she goes through Bethlehem, and then you see him raising Jairus' daughter, but she didn't cover him raising Lazarus from the dead, which I thought was kind of unusual. And you see pretty much the whole thing. I thought for 35 minutes, I thought it was pretty interesting. And of course, we looked at twins and weird science. I mentioned Scorpion King. I saw a silly movie called Lady Gangster from 1942. And Jackie Gleason, this must have been one of his first movies. He's much, much thinner than we ever know him as. And it was like his name is so way down the list in the opening credits. And I just happened to see like James Gleason. And I said, wait a minute, I wonder if that's Jackie. And once you see him, it's like you're looking at him and going, oh, that's Jackie Gleason. So it was okay. The Ninth Guest was kind of an Americanized 10 Little Indians. Jerusalem Liberated. That was another silent movie. It was supposed to be about the Crusades, but I think they said a lot of the movie's missing. So you get like 30 minutes and it's like, wait a minute, I thought she got shot with an arrow, because is that her or is that another character? Why are they burning those characters at the stake? Why did she rush in and say, don't burn them at the stake, and they let them go? So it was very confused, but at the end, Jerusalem was liberated. So I guess that's all that matters.
Fit the title name, so that's all you need.
That's all I needed. And then I saw Bela Lugosi in one of those movies that I'm sure Bela made for his habit, heroin or whatever he was using. And that was called Invisible Ghost. And it was just a really goofy movie. And my 3-star movies, The Fall of House of Usher, which I had mentioned with James Sibley Watson, only runs about 12 minutes. And so it's a quick watch. It's on Internet Archives. And when you look at it, you're honestly thinking, oh, no, this has to be a recent movie and they shot it like, silent. No, but it's very avant-garde. It's not like a lot of movies that I would have seen that came from that era. So that's what was throwing me off, but I enjoyed it. I saw Sabrina again, and William Holden, Audrey Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, and of course it was remade with Harrison Ford. And I don't know, my mother liked Bogart when he did stuff like Casablanca and things, but Sabrina got on her nerves because she said Bogart's old enough to be Audrey Hepburn's father. And she could not, I never felt any sparks. I understood where his character was coming from and Holden's character, because they're supposed to be brothers. But when he and Sabrina are in a room together and you're supposed to feel sparks, is there something happening between the two? I never feel it. And I don't know how many times I've seen that movie, and I'm like, there you go. Peter Ustinov's Death on the Nile. And then we looked at Commando.
Yeah, that's right.
On the watch. Roxanne with Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah. I hadn't seen it in years, and Pluto TV had it on, and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this because it's just a sweet romantic comedy.
I've never seen it before. I'm pulling it up right now. So this is based on Cyrano de Bergerac. Okay.
Yes.
Steve Martin. Wow.
Yeah, and they update it to the 1980s, and Daryl Hannah plays the lead female role, Roxanne. And of course, Steve Martin is playing the Cyrano type character, and he has his nose. Oh, excuse me. And he starts writing love letters and everything for the young man who doesn't understand how to express himself properly. And it's just a very sweet romantic comedy from that age. I would say, yeah, it's definitely one you need to catch.
And that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Roxanne.
It's so sweet. It really is.
He's got the long nose. And they do this challenge in the bar. He tries to come up with 100 jokes about his own nose.
Yes.
That are better than or is it 100 that are better than the joke that somebody just tried to tell about his nose.
Yes.
Steve Martin's my favorite. I love him so much.
Oh, he's so great. The physical comedy stuff too. It's just, he's gold.
Well, he plays a volunteer fire chief in this one. And but yeah, it's pretty charming. I was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this movie in forever. And so I curled up and watched it, and it was like, yeah, it was as much fun as it was when I first saw it.
Nice.
And Latino Slant, thank you. I kept saying I recognized his face, but I couldn't place who he was. The one who plays the good looking guy that Roxanne falls for. And that I keep calling Steve Martin Cyrano, but that he has to write, the poetry and everything for. And I guess my other 3-star movie that I saw, I hadn't seen this one since I was a kid. And the more I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, I think I remember this. But it was called The Lost World. And it's an Irwin Allen movie. And Irwin Allen was best known for producing and creating Lost in Space, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I think he did Fantastic Voyage, the movie. In the 70s, he did a lot of the famous disaster movies like Poseidon Adventure and Towering Inferno. And this movie was from the 60s, but it had Michael Rennie, a very old Claude Rains, David Hedison, who played the original scientist in The Fly, who gets changed into The Fly. Fernando Lamas, Jill St. John, and there's dinosaurs in it. So there you go.
What kind of dinosaurs? Was it the claymation style? Was it what kind of effects did they use for it?
If I remember offhand, it was kind of like the Harryhausen sort of effects, which was kind of ironic because I think this is Harryhausen's centennial, and I know it's a lot of YouTubers are starting to talk about his work again, which. Yes, most definitely. And Latino, Fred Willard, who is great. I love him. And then my top movies, we saw Kelly's Heroes and The Great Escape.
Yeah.
And I looked at Paper Moon twice, and that might need to go on your preservation. Because Tatum O'Neal smokes cigarettes and she's like 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, no.
And it is such a great movie. Peter Bogdanovich directed it, and you really need to sit and you listen to the dialogue, and it is just so funny. And whenever anyone says, well, child actors aren't supposed to be great, you look at Tatum O'Neal and look at her Oscar that she won for Best Supporting Actress say, I'm sorry, what did you say about children aren't supposed to know how to act? Because she almost outacted her dad.
Wow.
And Madeline Kahn is also in it, and she's hysterical, as always.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I've actually never seen Paper Moon, but obviously I've always heard about it because it is historically relevant for that very fact that she got the Oscar at such a young age. But it reminds me a little bit. So obviously it's a more modern film, and it's a film featuring some of our favorite actress, Brie Larson, a Room from 2015. But it features Jacob Tremblay, who I think is an amazing child actor. Obviously he's much older now, but I think he got nominated for his performance in that film, and he's great. So yeah, right there with you. I mean, whenever everyone says, oh, it's just a kid, so it's fine, there are a lot of kids that are very, very talented.
Very talented. And I know they used to say Shirley Temple was such a hard worker that the adults were worn out by her. Because they would be just like, no, I got to go sit down. And she was ready to start dancing again. You had Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney, Elizabeth Taylor, like in her National Velvet days. I mean, there were quite a few really good child actors. I don't quite know what's going on today. But anyway, Paper Moon, catch it if you get a chance. And we saw Dirty Harry. I finally saw Mad Max Fury Road for the first time.
And what'd you think about it?
I really enjoyed it. I kind of came in, the movie had already started, but I was like, I'm going to watch this. And I really did like it. It's been a while since I've seen a Mad Max movie I enjoyed. I saw a film noir, and it's on YouTube, so there's no excuse if you want to see it. It's called The Good Die Young, and it was from the early 50s. Richard Basehart, Stanley Baker, who's a British actor. I've seen him in some Shakespearean movies. Gloria Graham, a very young Joan Collins. John Ireland, who I think is Jill Ireland's father. We were talking about that when we were watching The Great Escape.
Hmm.
And Lawrence Harvey, who is one of those actors that my mother said he was in love with Elizabeth Taylor, and when he couldn't get her, he became gay. That was what my mom always said. It's a sad movie because it shows how countries treat their veterans when a war is over. And this was both in Britain and America. And these 4 guys get together to do a heist. And you see their backstories and you kind of understand why they're getting ready to do this. And it's just very sad. It didn't end the way I thought it was going to end, but it's film noir. So,
okay, yeah.
I watched There Will Be Blood twice. It's like every time that movie comes on, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look at this. The Quiet Man with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. Sunset Boulevard. Dirty Dozen, we really need to look at that.
Okay.
So that's another World War II movie. I looked at Foolish Wives twice. That's one of Eric von Stroheim's movies. It's alleged to have been the first $1 million movie ever made. And that was from the early 20s. I looked at The Madness of King George, which I had not seen in ages, with the late Nigel Hawthorne and Helen Mirren. Ian Holm is curing another king, and I was like, oh my gosh, he cured what's-his-face in Colin Firth in The King's Speech. So now he's curing George III of his insanity. And after seeing the movie, I was like, I know Nigel Hawthorne was up for an Oscar. Who did he lose against? And then I looked it up and I said, well, of course he lost against him. He lost to Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, Nigel Hawthorne should have won that Oscar. I'm sorry. And then the other one I saw was The Fatal Glass of Beer from 1933. It runs about 18 minutes. It's a W.C. Fields short. And I think Nathan was asking me who was W.C. Fields, and I was trying to explain to him in the chat last night. W.C. Fields was a brilliant comedian who would be considered so toxic today, especially with some of the things he would say. And I think he's best known for allegedly saying never work with kids and animals.
Yeah.
But
oh boy.
Fatal Glass of Beer is just this silly movie that I first saw when I was a kid, and every time I see it, I laugh. He's a prospector. His son is in prison or getting ready to be released from prison for stealing some bonds or something. And everything is very fake, and I think that's the whole reason behind it. When he's driving his dog sled, you can tell it's obviously fake. When he goes out to milk the moose, you know it's fake. And he says he lies.
You can milk a moose?
Yeah, I know.
I didn't
I'm
know
Googling that right now.
It's just, and he sings this little song called The Fatal Glass of Beer, and it's how his son became corrupted by moving to the big city. And oh my gosh. And of course he says the same line through the whole short. It's not a fit night out for man or beast, and somebody throws fake snow in his face. And this happens several times through the movie until you're reciting it and you're waiting for the fake snow to come in. And it's just very over the top, and it's silly. But every time I see it, I end up in tears. I'm laughing so hard.
Well, so, I'm just aghast because there is indeed moose milk, and
oh my gosh, for real?
Yes.
And there's even moose cheese.
Oh my god.
And it was on a site. If you want to get your moose cheese, it's something under Gastro Obscura.
Oh my gosh.
So Atlas Obscura, if you want your obscure moose cheese.
Oh my gosh.
That's yeah.
Well, after all these years, because when he would tell his wife, he was going to go out and milk the moose or the elk or whatever, and He picks up the bucket, and he never actually milks anything. He's out there with his horns. Lena, don't you know me, honey? It's me. And you see this old film of all these moose or elk just running by. And like I said, I think the whole joke is it's supposed to look fake. And that's part of what makes it funny. But, oh my gosh, moose milk. Yeah, I think I'll pass. So.
Sounds delicious.
But those were my movies for over the last month. I'd say of all of them, other than the ones we watched, definitely Catch Paper Moon.
Okay, yeah.
Roxanne. I know you've seen There Will Be Blood.
I have before. Yes.
And Madness of King George is just a joy, but it's one of those movies where you have to sit, you have to listen. And that's why I know a lot of modern audiences wouldn't, where's the boom boom and the explosion?
I love how Tina I love how Tina just said, "Where's the boom boom?"
But I mean, it's very witty. It reminds me of Amadeus, which is another movie I love. But you have to sit and listen, and you hear these lines, and it's like it's very funny, and especially when George III still does not recognize the colonies are no longer his colonies anymore. They decide to call themselves the United States. So yeah, that was what I watched. So
very nice. Wow. Yeah. I mean, Tina, you watch so many movies, and I'm amazed.
So many.
And I'm amazed at how, again, just you're able to get all the. As I said, every single time we do this stream, at the end of these, it's always the same. You need to start a channel because, I mean, all of that information is amazing. It's fantastic.
I mean, it's just things that I pick up. I watch a lot of documentaries. I love stuff about how they made movies. And so I pick up that stuff and I retain it. And my mom was one of those people that she still had old movie magazines from the 50s and 60s when they used to come out with those. And she had one that had, grief-stricken Debbie Reynolds on the cover with her two little children, Carrie and whatever the boy's name was. And poor Debbie, because Eddie left her for that horrible Elizabeth Taylor person. And my mother would be like, it's just all lies. The reason why Eddie left Debbie was because she was probably boring. Liz Taylor was grieving the loss of Mike Todd, the director. And I knew of Mike Todd. Mike Todd even developed a photography system for movies. And she was grief-stricken. Liz was grief-stricken when he died, and Eddie was friends of theirs. So, of course, Eddie felt it was his obligation to go over and comfort Liz in her time of grief. So my mother's telling me all this information. But, yeah, I mean, I pick up these little things.
I'm telling you, put them all together, and you've, again, several videos right there in the making. And one of them, the first one, can be all about moose milk.
Well, someone said moose milk versus
rhino milk.
Rhino milk.
I saw that too. Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you so much again for sharing those thoughts, and you always give great recommendations on films, and it's been really great having you again in those movie mornings because I definitely think you help to kind of guide the decision making towards the end, because sometimes we can get very hey, let's watch The Outsiders, or hey, let's watch, Juice, like it comes with like this random things that just pop up, and I think that having your encyclopedic mind is very good of being, okay, here are the films that we really should be focusing on instead. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and just go down the line, and any last minute things anyone wants to say or plugs or anything like that, it's pretty much open to you. So Laura, what you got?
You don't ask me to follow that, do you? I don't have any milking information. I do need to see There Will Be Blood. I still haven't seen that yet.
It's great.
It's on the list. Yeah. It's like I gotta go somewhere, like rent a hotel room and watch it there, because that's the whole sitting down and watching a movie all in one shot's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know.
It's so great though, because you know another reason why it's such a great film, right? You know who's in it, right?
No, who's what?
Paul freaking Dano. That's who.
And he's playing twins, so
Yeah, and Paul freaking Dano is legit. Anyway, that's enough for me.
It's okay. I just had like 4 White Claws and I just ate pizza, so I'm on the edge. On the edge of coma.
Oh, but a happy coma. I mean, the
gosh,
pizza alone would put me into a happy food coma.
You're happy boy.
Yes, indeed. And Latino Slant says Swiss Army Man. Yes, Paul freaking Dano's in that one too, and it's bizarre as hell, and I love it.
I did. I forgot to say I did see Chicago.
Ah, what'd you think?
I don't know, man. I didn't know what to think about that. Just I didn't know that Renee Zellweger could sing and or dance. So
Yeah,
that was. I don't know. Hollywood loves musicals, so I'm sure that they all enjoyed making that movie.
yeah, and that's why like that film's always been one that's I'm also kind of like in that I don't know about, because it's just a lot of non-professional singers singing, and it's just I don't know, that always just gets to me for some reason, depending on the project. And also I've also never been a fan of the Chicago storyline, really.
Yeah, any time period piece is interesting, as a history major. But that's the worst thing is like when you watch a movie that everybody's raving about, and you're just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, for sure. Because got all that Oscar buzz and everything, and I was just like, I just don't get the story. I don't understand why it's so. But hey, you do you.
I don't think I made it like 15 minutes. I watched La La Land, and I think I turned it off like 15 minutes in.
You know it's so oh god,
this is not gonna work for
no.
me. You did better than I did, Laura.
You know what the worst thing too is that the music for it is just so forgettable and so bland, and yet it's the same writers that did Greatest Showman, and I loved The Greatest Showman.
Which I have not seen yet either.
Oh, I would recommend that. The music for Greatest Showman is fantastic, especially if you're going to compare it to what you get in La La Land.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people raving about it, so I know I need to watch it. But
yeah,
I think that's what was that Zendaya's first movie?
Wasn't she in Homecoming first? Didn't Homecoming?
I don't know.
Didn't Spider-Man Homecoming come out before that?
I did. I saw her in the Spider-Man movie, and despite my reservations, I really did like her.
Yeah. I mean, she's
kind of
got
this vibe.
Yeah. She has this similar tone in every performance she does. So, she doesn't really have much range as an actress, but for the role she was in, she did fine. I bought into the chemistry between her and Zac Efron. And I respect her and Zac Efron a lot for their performance, because if you look for the behind the scenes for Greatest Showman, a lot of there's a scene where they do like a love song and they're using ropes essentially. And they said how a lot of the shots, were them, obviously some people did some of the other crazier stuff, but that they actually had to do a couple of them themselves. And it's interesting because they show at one point they do this really cool move where they start apart, come together, and then they're supposed to catch each other into a spin. And then so many takes, it's just them colliding into each other.
No.
And it's great. So I love the film. I think it's great.
One of my daughter's friends did, they called it circus arts. And we went, you go and watch them, and you're just like, the whole time you're like, oh my God. Please don't die while I'm watching you fly through the air.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, yeah. So what else did I see? Oh, hello, puppy.
Yeah, that was River. I don't know what she's barking at. She's always barking at something. Usually it's River. Rather, River usually barks at Willow because she thinks that she wants the ball, but she doesn't care about the ball.
I heard about the ball, yeah.
Yeah, Willow just wants attention. I don't understand it. But no, yeah, anything going on, or anything that you want to plug for support or anything like that?
Oh Oh yeah, I think I already plugged Happy Dinosaur 8000.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to do some movie reviews. I don't know. I'm trying to finish up this Grant, Ulysses S. Grant biography. It's so long. I'm only like a third of the way through, and they haven't even got to the Civil War yet. So.
Nice.
It's so long. I mean, it's like I'm glad I learned so much about like his mother-in-law's family. But it's like,
did I really need to know that about his mother-in-law's family?
I'm sure it's relevant in some way, but I don't know.
That's funny.
It's like just because it's there doesn't mean you need to tell me about it. It's not necessarily relevant.
That's great.
But, well,
very cool. Yeah. Well,
just,
a shout out once again then to Dinosaur 8000. Happy dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
He is a happy dinosaur.
He is. Lord. No, he's one of those people that post like, "Hey, good morning, everybody." Because good old Ruthie used to do that quite a lot.
Yeah, he shows up in the chat every stream or so, and it's always just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And so.
Yeah, I like people like that. They don't ever tweet anything, anything serious. Not serious. That's the wrong word.
Controversial or.
Yeah, they're just like happy, friendly.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Tag in a comment. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's just
for sure.
Compared to everything else on Twitter.
Oh Lord! And now it's gonna probably transfer over to Parler, and then all the social media sites are just gonna be,
Oh, I did start a Parler account, so that's fun.
Yeah, so it's a new thing.
I'm going.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I know that a message for Tina, a friend of yours, is trying to get you to come over there.
Yeah, she's been harassing me.
The one major issue I have with it is that in order to direct message someone, you have to be verified, and the way you verify yourself is by like sharing your information, which includes like an image of your passport or license. Which I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. But if someone is verified and they message you, then you can message them back. So,
that's kind of crazy. You gotta watch, because a lot of these programs, they're just designed to, a lot of these apps, they're just designed to get your personal information.
Yep.
So
exactly right.
Well, I know she told me you had started one. I know Clownfish TV is on there. Midnight's Edge. Oh, yeah, Jeremy is. I guess since now he's not on Twitter or whatever. So, I told her I was gonna get it set up. My mind's been elsewhere.
Oh yeah. There are
when Jeremy got off Twitter, I was like, well, who am I gonna follow and then unfollow and then follow again?
Oh
man! You follow him for a little while and he'll say something ridiculous, and you're just like, oh, why do you say that?
And then he'll start for him it's like he'll start a Twitter war, and then you're getting nonstop notifications. You're just like, oh my gosh, let it go.
When you follow Jeremy, like half of Twitter has blocked you.
So. This is also true.
It's like you get these streams of messages, and it's like, you can't view this message. You can't view this message. And
it's like, I don't have any interactions with this person. Oh, it's because they shadow banned and what's it called? Mass blocked everybody.
Yeah, hold up. My dog is about to eat the squirrel. Oh no, squirrel! Go up the tree, squirrel. Okay.
All right, squirrel is safe. Everyone, the squirrel is safe.
Yay!
Yes.
I was being really I don't know why I was being still. I was just like, please, squirrel, go up the tree. Please, squirrel. The dog is right behind you.
See, I would have been like, run, squirrel, run.
I freeze in moments of stress.
I get it.
Either that, or it's like, I need to find a stick or a small pebble or something that I can throw at it to get it to run away.
A very small rock.
A very small, very, very small rock. A trisket.
No.
A duck. Ah, exactly. Oh, I love that stuff.
My wife had the moment of her lifetime. She went salmon fishing with a bunch of people from work, and she was the first person to get fish on. And she was struggling with it, and they're helping her reel it in, and the fish went under the boat. So to yell out like via Jaws. She got to yell, "It's gone under the boat." And she turned to the guy next to her and she was like, "It's either very smart or very dumb. It's gone under the boat." The fisherman's just looking at her like, "What are you talking? Why?"
At that point, you'd be like, "I think we're gonna need a bigger boat.
I think we're gonna need a bigger boat." She had so much fun with that. She was like, "I was so happy." She's like, "The trip could have ended right then, and I would have."
I always find the happiest moments in my life are when I can quote a movie, like when I can just throw a reference out there and then as you just mentioned, then that experience, and they don't even understand what's going on, but you do, and that's all that matters.
It's like, yeah, that's what she was saying, that everybody was looking at her because she was cracking up.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What? It's so funny." She's like, "I was enjoying myself, so I didn't care."
Did she get the fish out of the water?
Oh yeah, I posted it on Twitter. She got 3 actually. She was distributing her fish around the boat because you can only catch 2, but she caught 3. So.
You see, that's when I should have, she should have held the fish up, and then she should have said to the fish, like, "Oh, what is the line? It's like, 'Eat this, you son of a.'"
Oh, wait, shoves the yeah.
Yeah.
I'm making too much noise. My mother-in-law's closing the back door.
Oh no!
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, just be like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry."
Sorry. I'll put it in Twitter. I'll put it in our little Discord. I'll show you the picture of her with their fish. But yeah.
Nice.
Oh, here we go. There it is. Oh, happy. She brings home the bacon and the salmon.
The bacon and the salmon.
That's a beautiful fish. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I was very impressed.
That thing is huge. Huge. Well, thank you very much, Laura, though, for being here. And it's always great to have these conversations. And also, that's a damn good fish.
It is.
In fact, there's a movie based
Thanks
on
for
that
having
fish.
Me. Fun to be here.
Always fun.
Salmon?
No, it's called Big Fish.
Oh, yes.
There's a musical based off of it now, too. It's called Big Fish. That's a big old fish.
It is a big old fish.
You're welcome. Anyways. So thank you so much for being here. So, Mr. Roy, what you got for us? Any last-minute things? Any shout-outs you want to give?
Probably shout out the Geeksy Gamers website.
Okay.
I joined like really early on, and I'm joining the forums and all that. That's pretty much it. I mean, F Naughty Dog.
Yes, indeed. F Neil Druckmann, the whole shebang.
Yeah, I watched 16 hours of that gameplay, and I was done. I got about 4 hours into the Abby nonsense. I was like, this is it. I feel like I'm being emotionally manipulated into liking this character, and I couldn't continue with it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Because I watched the entire PewDiePie playthrough of the game. And,
that had to be fun.
Oh, it was. Like, it kept me entertained. But, like, the fact that you could literally see PewDiePie, like, dying on the inside as he was playing the game, it was, like, sad. Like, he wanted to keep playing it because he loved interacting with everybody as he was playing it. But, like, he even said at the end in his review, he's like, if I didn't have this stream, I wouldn't have continued to play the game. And I think that speaks to, like, the two things that piss me off the most about the game, now that I've actually seen it and seen the whole story play out, is one, that they blatantly lied to the fans about what the game was. Blatantly lied to the fans.
You could tell they went through focus testing and realized that this game was going to be really divisive. So when the leaks came out, they were like, we're going to block this wherever we can, even if it ain't legal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, again, they blatantly lied to the fans about what the gameplay was going to be. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing that pisses me off is that they spent all these years, developing this game. And yet, when you actually look to the game, the gameplay between the first and second is almost identical. And that means you're repeating probably a lot of the same codes. Now, again, I'm not a gamer or a game developer, but it looks like a lot of the stuff you're rendering and you're putting in there is not new. Like it's stuff that you're kind of bringing over from the other game, adding some things, which seems to indicate that you had a lot more time, should have had a lot more time to build the story and to at least get that going. And so the fact that the story was so terrible, and actually, to be honest, the worst part of the story isn't even necessarily the narrative that it's the story that it's telling, but it's the fact that it cuts it up into different times. And it doesn't make any sense as to why they put certain things where they did. You know, instead of it being linear, they just put certain things in the past, certain things in the future, and it just destroys any sense of you caring for these characters.
Yeah, I think the worst of it is when you play like 4 days worth of like time with Ellie, and then they turn around and make you do the same thing again through Abby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do the same thing. The whole game, apparently, you know, you're collecting things constantly. So you do all of this stuff to build up Ellie, and you think, oh, Ellie and Joel, it's going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden, oh, never mind. I'm only getting Ellie, I guess. But then as soon as you think that, oh, wait, now I have to play as the character that I hate for 5 hours plus.
It was 10 hours plus when I watched it on. Yeah, that's what most people are saying. It's 10 hours plus.
Yeah. So the vast majority of the gameplay is you playing as this new character who's killed one of your favorite characters in the beginning of the game. So like they force you to play as this character. And then the other really terrible part about it is the fact that when you finally are able to play as the character that you like, it's like you can't do anything. In fact, I actually followed it. The first gameplay as Ellie that you have, because obviously before then you're playing as what you perceive to be enemy against Ellie. Like that was the weirdest thing, is watching you're playing as Abby trying to kill Ellie, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to kill this character. Why are you doing this to me? And then guess what? The first gameplay that you get with Ellie after all of that is you get to herd sheep. And it's like,
wow,
how tone deaf do you have to be? And obviously,
you don't get to milk a moose.
You don't get to know. You don't even get to milk a moose. You don't even get to get the cheese from the moose milk and eat it and spread it on a cracker. You don't get any of that. No, instead, you get to walk around rounding up sheep is the first thing you get to do as Ellie when you can finally play as her character again. And then, of course, it doesn't end there. It keeps going because it just had to add more gameplay. And then you go and hunt her down again, only for you to decide, oh, never mind.
Abby was dying on top of a pole. She cuts her down, and then they fight, and then she lets her go in the end. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
this is nonsense.
Yeah, and again, I'm all, me, like I'm usually I'm against violence, I'm against retribution and revenge and things like that. But obviously, in video games, it's fiction, so it's a fictional story, and so it has a different place. But the problem with this is that you're being built up to buy into something, and then they give you an out when Abby doesn't kill Ellie. And then all of a sudden Ellie is happy. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but she still needs to do this act of revenge. And then they give you the act of revenge. And then it doesn't make any, again, none of the story works in the order that they do it in. And as I said, the two reasons why I'm pissed off the most is because they lied to the fans about what the game was. And then they obviously had enough time to focus on the story and decided not to. And I think that's ridiculous.
I agree. I mean, I'm shocked at how the gameplay is about 22, 23 hours, and I think like 2/3 of it is just two characters walking and talking and giving exposition throughout the whole game. It's boring to watch.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's not even diving into what you're talking about, which is the actual dialogue, because it's actually, there's a lot of political motivated dialogue that happens in there. And I kid you not.
I don't know, because I stopped caring. When I was watching the YouTube video, I started playing it at 1.5 speed just to get through some of it.
Oh, yeah.
God, it was boring.
So here's a direct quote. I don't want that bigot sandwich.
What does that even mean?
Because in the again, you don't find out what the word was until the end of the game. But at the beginning of the game, it's established that a drunk man made a comment towards Ellie, who likes women, and so you never know what it is. And so then the next day when he's sober, he like tries to make it up and says he's sorry, and then makes her like a sandwich, like makes her like a food for their journey because she's about to go out on patrol. And then she makes the comment, "I don't want a bigot sandwich." And then at the end, you find out that the word was she got called the D word. The DY word.
The issue is that the two scenes are so separated, you almost forget the first scene by the time the second one pops up.
Yeah, because one is at the very beginning and the other one's at the very end. And it's just, again, it's terrible storytelling. Like, even from an objective level, it's just not well put. Because even if they told the story they did, and even PewDiePie made this point, if they changed the order of events, it at least would have made more sense. It would have at least been, sensible, but they didn't. And, they tried to basically stretch it out for as long as they could. And, it's a game I don't think is going to last long. Like, again, it's making money, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be a game that everyone's going to remember as, oh, this is an amazing game.
I'm probably going to bet it's going to end up like Death Stranding. It's going to sell well for 2 weeks, and then it's going to fall off the face of the earth. No one's going to give a crap about it.
Yeah. Not to mention that it's Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There are a lot of movies that get made these days if the video game is popular enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it had been a good sequel, they probably could have gotten a movie deal out of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. It would have been a great. The first one could be a great movie.
It's got a TV series coming out on HBO, I believe.
Yeah. I can't imagine that they'll do that second part. I mean, Lord Almighty. Because here's the other thing, too, is that, do you ever want to watch a movie that makes you feel terrible about everything? No. Like even sad movies give you at least some sense of hope, right? At least some sad movies, you feel something positive in some respects, right? But like, this is a game where it's like you would never want to play it again because literally every character is left with nothing. Every character is left with nothing, right? Like, was it Jesse or whatever the guy? Tommy lost his brother. He doesn't have his brother anymore, and guess what? His wife is decided that they need a break. So main character Ellie loses her girlfriend who she was raising a child with to go off and get revenge, and then didn't get revenge, and so again that whole thing was wasted. So now she's completely alone and has no one. The other major character, Joel, is dead. So boom, he's dead. So what more can I say about that? Literally every single character is I mean, again, why would I want to play that? Especially during a time in which things are so dark for so many people.
Yeah, the best way I described to a friend of mine yesterday is, imagine if they made like John Wick 4 and they killed John Wick 5 minutes into the movie. And then you spend half the movie hunting down the person that is responsible for John Wick's death. Then all of a sudden it goes to complete black, and then all of a sudden you spend the other half of the movie as the guy that killed John Wick hunting down the person that's hunting you down.
Yeah. That's a great metaphor. Or take any so Tina, you're obviously our encyclopedia here. What's a great movie that tells either a father, son, daughter, mother, any combination of its story?
Oh, frack.
Now you know how I feel when I'm put on the spot with questions.
Oh my gosh. Father, son,
or father, daughter, mother, son,
mother, daughter. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't even think about it. I guess in a tiny way, this is just off the top of my head, because you don't see her interact with her mom a whole lot.
Yeah.
If you read the book, it goes a little more in depth, but I would say in Gone with the Wind, Scarlett wanted to be like her mother so much. She would always talk about her mother was so gentle and so patient. In the book, you find out her mother had a very passionate affair with this guy, and her family would not allow her to marry him for whatever reason. Scarlett never knew that in the book. And it never comes up, of course, in the movie, because that would have been like, oh, okay, that's subplot Z.
Okay.
But that was part of what sort of drove Scarlett in a way and complicated her character, where she's just not this flat, two-dimensional character that a lot of people think she is. She says the line, "I always wanted to be like my mother, who was kind, who was gentle, and kind of like, look what I've become." But Scarlett kind of rose from the ashes. But that was a good relationship. You see her mother kind of pat her on the cheek when they're getting ready to have rosary, and she says, "Scarlett, is something wrong?" And Scarlett's like, "No, Mom, I don't want to talk about it." And it was like, yeah, that's the one person you should have talked to about Ashley Wilkes. But I would say that somebody mentioned Last Crusade.
So no, I was gonna say that
that's
I love your I love the explanation, and I love the depth for it. But I was like, that's not what I was like. I was like, that's not what I was going with. But I love still the reference. But I'm actually gonna use the Finding Nemo reference, because I think I can make a good comparison with it. But anyway, Caruso Signorelli, I did get your super chat. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat, where he says, "Hey, Mr. Odin." Thank you so much, Caruso. Appreciate that. But for Finding Nemo, basically imagine this. Imagine that Finding Nemo, right? What is the actual, kind of falling away from the father-son stuff. What is the relationships that's established in Finding Nemo 1?
I only saw Finding Nemo once. So Nemo goes up missing. Daddy is too much of a helicopter fish.
But who does Nemo? Who does the father? I'm blanking out on names now. Who does the father fish like hang out with and go on the entire journey with?
Ellen
DeGeneres, yeah. Ellen DeGeneres. Dory, right? Thank you.
That's actually true.
Yeah. So anyway, Marlin, thank you. So Marlin is the father, right? So the story really is about Marlin and Dory. So imagine, this is what The Last of Us Part 2 is. Imagine that in Finding Nemo Part 2, you're having a story and you're thinking, oh, we're going to get another road trip story with Marlin and Dory. And then Dory is killed in the first 5 minutes. And then you have to play as the fish that killed Dory on a side quest, only to find out later on that it was all for nothing. That is what The Last of Us Part 2.
Just keep
stabbing.
Okay, so now I see what you're doing. You're tying this into that game, and
yes, that's what I was trying to do, because I was like,
I was being serious.
Yeah, you were being serious. You were like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna give like this deep explanation. It was a great explanation. I was like, that was awesome, but it was not. I was like,
it wasn't what you were talking. Oh, okay.
It's fine.
I'm sorry, because now we're talking about that game, and it was like my brain was like, oh my gosh, sheep herding, walking, talking, sheep herding. Oh.
But anyways,
mojito brain, Tina.
Definitely got some mojitos going on for sure. But take any story where the first story or the only story are two characters that like have to go through so much together and bond together. Obviously, the first Last of Us, it's like a father-daughter bond is what's established essentially. And so imagine any story like that. And then the sequel, which is being promoted as, oh, you love that story? Hey, here they are again. They're going to be back at it. Only instead, in the gameplay, the main character gets killed. And then, not only that, but then you have to play as the killer of that character.
Well, didn't they kind of do that in Terminator Dark Fate? They killed off John in, the first 2 minutes of the movie? And...
But you don't have. But luckily, you don't have to play as.
It's the same kind of anger.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's the same kind of anger.
Oh yeah,
when it comes to Terminator fans seeing their, a beloved character just get killed off like that.
Yeah.
It shows like a deep lack of understanding.
Yeah,
it's almost like they don't have any empathy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any. I don't even know what the word would be. It's like you don't understand how much people love these characters you've created.
Well, I think that and some people have made this comparison. Basically, Neil Druckmann decided to go the Rian Johnson route. where the whole premise of the game was, I'm going to subvert your expectations, right? Oh, you want to play as these two characters? I'm going to kill one of them. Oh, you want to play as the other character to get revenge? That's what you think you would be doing. Oh, but no, instead I'm going to let you now. Instead, you're going to play as the killer of the character, and now I'm going to bring you through this 10-hour backstory about why she did it, and so that way you empathize with her, but you still don't, because the main people playing this game played the first game where they fell in love with those two characters, and it doesn't matter what you tell us about this third character that's being brought in, because you're still going to love these other characters. It's just, my goodness.
It's definitely, I mean, it's very culturally significant to what's going on right now. It's like everybody's trying to be so anti.
Yep.
It's like, I'm against this. Well, what are you for?
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
Where is the story here? It's okay if you're going to go against the traditional or expected storylines.
Yeah.
But what is your replacement for that?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have one.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Because you're not as smart as you think you are.
Yeah. Like, because they could have easily done it where they're setting up, they're going to go on a journey again, and they're going to, deepen their, or it's going to go to a different level because now Ellie is in a relationship with this other girl. And so now it's the father trying to, hey, let's make sure that this relationship is going to be stable. Let's make sure that y'all, does this girl actually care about you, is one of the comments you find out later on when they show you all the flashbacks, where you see he's actually being that caring dad character, where he's asking, do you know her intentions? Is she actually into you, or is this some kind of play on, right? And so you could have dove into that, and then if you want to play the subversion, you can subvert expectations and it can work. But if you're subverting for the sake of subverting, and then your next play is I'm going to subvert again, and then your next play is I'm going to subvert again, that's not a story. Like, that's bad storytelling. And it's sad because this game's already, of course, sold millions and millions, or rather has made millions of dollars. And so they're not going to get the message because it's all there.
I mean, they'll get the message when they try to do DLC or try to re-release this on the PS5 and no one buys it.
Yeah, I hope so. I sure hope so. But as we've learned from Hollywood, sometimes they still don't get the message, which is why we've gotten that recent announcement of, the woman that wrote the story for Birds of Prey that lost $30 million? Guess what? We're giving her a Pirates of the Caribbean film to write, and now it's going to be a female Jack Sparrow, essentially, is what it is. And it's like, okay, you can tell a story, but if your main premise is, guess what? She's a woman, that's not a good enough reason to make the story. You got to give me more than that. You got to make me care about the character. And some people say, well, maybe it will be. Look at the history of that writer, and you'll realize, nope, that's not what you're going to get. But anyway.
I'm trying to remember when it was that I lost hope for a lot of these remakes, Yeah. Because I'm like that. I'm just like, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And I don't know. It was probably, what did I see the remake of? I think I saw the Ocean's
8.
Ocean's 8, yeah. And I was like, these aren't necessary.
No. I mean, because you could argue Ocean's 13 also was not necessary, right? It was like, okay, now you're just doing the same story over and over and over again, and there's no point. But with Ocean's 8, you're doing the formula, except guess what is the only difference and is the primary reason for its existence? They're all women now. Okay, that's not, again, that in and of itself is not good enough. Or Ghostbusters 2016. That in and of itself is not good enough. You need to actually be able to have characters and arcs and reasons for existing. And I feel just like that puppy that's on the screen right now, right? I'm just
looking at him.
I'm just like, what's going on in the world? Maybe there's
Gracie.
Gracie's like, maybe there's some hope over here.
Come here.
Maybe there's some hope over here. No? Maybe over
hope.
here.
No. I'm so tired of all this.
I might just lay down.
Where are you going?
No, I'm just gonna lay down.
She had an accident with her back, so she's not quite 100%. So
she's going into the shade. She's going into the darkness.
They do that. They lay on the tiles, and then they're like, it's a safe
Yep, there she is. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to speak with you again.
Yeah, I checked out of Twitter for quite a while after the whole episode 9.
Yeah.
Because I think I was one of the few people who was holding out hope that JJ could pull it off.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh God, I was so butthurt. I heard all the spoilers and I saw all the pictures.
Yeah.
And I was just like, maybe.
And you know what?
Nope.
It could have happened. It could have, but it didn't.
It was not meant to. It was so bad.
It was. It was just awful. Agreed.
Yeah.
Tina, I think you're the last one for final thoughts. I don't know if I asked you.
Well, apologies for going so far afield about that. It was like,
oh no,
I didn't even realize you all were talking about that stupid game, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I hope a lot of you can tune in tomorrow to see the adventures of Robin Hood, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'll just never talk to you again. But it's a great movie. I mean, the Technicolor is brilliant. The costumes are wonderful. Eric Wolfgang Korngold has that magnificent score. And people like John Williams, those were the people that they were inspired by when they wrote, when like John Williams, I won't say he studied under Korngold, but he learned that style where each character has their own piece of music. And Korngold was one of those composers who was inspired by Wagner and Richard Strauss, and where, you know, the characters have their, what they call them, leitmotifs. Each character has its own music. So when I first heard John Williams do Star Wars, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like listening to Korngold again. And because you have the Force theme and Leia's theme and Luke's theme and, you know, all of that. But it's just it's such a fun movie. So I hope a lot of you all be able to tune in. And I think Nathan asked me yesterday, was that the one with Alan Rickman? And I had to think. I was like, wait a minute, Alan Rickman was in a Robin Hood movie? And it's like, oh yeah, the one with Kevin Costner. Yeah, it's like, no, this one's
you don't mess with Tina's Errol Flynn, all right? Errol Flynn has a special place in Tina's heart.
Errol Flynn, I've had a crush on Errol Flynn since I was a kid. Errol Flynn, Douglas Fairbanks, Valentino, Clark Gable, you know.
Jason Momoa, yeah.
Men's men. I mean, you know, Tyrone Power, who was a man's man and gorgeous to boot. So, but I hope some of you all can tune in and watch it.
Yeah.
And, it's a great cast. And so anyway.
Well, thank you for that.
Larry mentioned Robin and Marion with Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, they were playing an older version of them. And it's a good movie. I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah, and I've never seen it in my life, so I'm going to go ahead and link to the event. So that is going to be hosted on the Welcome to Asgard channel. That's the secondary channel. And please make sure you subscribe over there. Also, click that remind button. It's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, we'll we don't start the movie right at 9, so if you're a little late, that's okay. Usually I help to try and get things set up. But the way we do it is I put a clock on the screen. So that way, if you have your own personal copy, you can follow along with the timestamp on there. Or you also could watch along with me on Discord, because I share my screen as I watch it. On Discord, it's kind of like, hey, it's as if y'all were in my home watching it with me, but you're not. It's instead through Discord instead. So, you know, it's been mostly successful. There have been some issues, of course. You know, Tina's, unfortunately, Discord stream died on the last film. 20 minutes left, but a lot of other people have actually had some good success. The fact that Mr. Peabody himself, with the upside down, you know, internet, because somehow getting a connection, says volumes, I think. So the Discord link will be shared tomorrow on that stream. So if you're not in the Discord yet or not a part of it, be in the chat and the Discord link will be set. And then at the end of the movie, y'all will be able to choose what the next film will be, and that one will be on Wednesday. So I just want to take a moment to thank all of my chosen of Valhalla. So first, shout out to Rosetta Allen. Again, hopefully you're feeling better, Rosetta. I know that she was starting to feel some aches, so hopefully you are feeling fine. And thank you again for being here. Also, of course, to shout out her projects, make sure that you give her some love and some support because it is some great projects that she is working on. Shout out to, of course, the Empress, right? The
yeah, of the universe.
The Empress
of the
universe, not the world, not of Asgard, but of the universe. Tina, for being here and for being a mod and for doing all the things that she does, both on screen, off screen, behind the scenes, everything. She's just fantastic. So Tina, thank you for being here. Mr. Roy, thank you for being here, man. Thank you so much for sharing the most that you've shared ever on a stream. Historic. I love it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And also, of course, thank you very much for setting me up with that drive. I can't wait to test that one out tomorrow. And I have to find a way to get, because I believe it's a desktop drive, right?
Yes, you have to swap it with the one that's in your PC.
So, but hopefully that means I can try and jerry-rig the other one somewhere and have an extra drive or something, but who knows? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to experiment to see whether you can burn with it. That's the thing. The only thing I do with the drive on my system is to rip discs to MKV. I don't do anything else.
Yeah, the disc that I have currently rips, but it does not write. The external Pioneer one I have does write, though. So
okay.
But yeah, so thank you so much for sending that my way, and also thank you for the advice, and of course for supporting the initiative to preserve media. So thank you. And of course, the modern Major General with some of the cutest puppies in the land.
Gracie would like to say goodbye.
Oh,
She
goodbye.
says, bye, everybody.
Goodbye, Gracie. Goodbye,
I'm so
Gracie.
sleepy.
Oh, no. Gotta fall asleep in the sun. So Laura, who is the modern Major General of the channel, thank you again for being here and for sharing with us some lovely weather as well in California. And for, again, everyone for being here. Thank y'all.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for your continued support. And shout out to anyone that donated today. Shout out to everyone that watched today. And please smash that like button because we are around 90 likes. So we're actually pretty close to getting 100 likes, which might be the most we've gotten on one of the chosen streams. So thank you for everyone that's been here from the beginning. If you joined in late, if you've, whenever you've come into the stream, thank you for the support and for the love. Hope that I was able to shout out as many people in the chat as I possibly could for your comments. But obviously, you all know my ADD sometimes limits what I can do. But tomorrow morning stream, watching Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938. I believe I got that year correct.
Yes.
And 9 a.m. Eastern Time, welcome to Asgard Channel. Tuesday, we'll have our one-man low council, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, another AMM stream, movie to be determined at 9 a.m. Thursday morning, 9 a.m. on the Twitch channel. And Friday, of course, is Friday Night Tights. Saturday night stream. And then starts all over again. So, I'm tired. I'm going to take a long break after this. But anyway, thank you all so very much for being here. I love you guys so very much. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, Intertrap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And also to my Subscribe Star members, Edgardo Martinez, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod, the Beer Guru, and also Nebanon G. Adams and ZK Man, and Jonathan Carney, and Jacob Juice. Thank you all so much for being a member of Patreon and Subscribestar. And seriously, it really does mean a lot. Helps keeps the light on, helps me able to do things like the giveaways for my $5 and up backers on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also be able to put more stuff into the actual channel itself, including upgrading different components, whether it be webcams, microphones, things like that. All of that helps to support it, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so very much. Please, if you want to have your name shouted out or look at any of the other perks, which include things like indeed having access to exclusive 4K digital giveaways every single month, and also an exclusive podcast hosted on Patreon and Subscribestar, and also YouTube memberships as well at the $10 and up level, featuring John the Flick Pig Flickinger. Please check all of those things out in the description of this video. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.